All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics are Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics are Local. But more importantly, y'all know if it is the fourth Friday, y'all know it's time for the disciples. So the disciples are going to be coming up first, and we'll bring them in. They'll introduce themselves and they'll be up first. And then, of course, coming up at 7:30, we're going to talk to Dr. Myrna Morales, and we're going to talk to her about the progressive dilemma that many dislike about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, and what they're thinking about and why some of the young people particularly are not thinking about voting or participating in this election at all this time around. So we'll talk to her, and then of course at 8:15 we'll talk to our brother Larry Hamm, of course, from the People's Organization for Progress. As you all know, he's running for the Senate, and so but there seems to be a lockout. It seems to be that they're locking our brother out, particularly because he's not meeting some of the thresholds, particularly around money. I mean, they're claiming, that whatever the thresholds are that they put together, that he's not meeting those. So we'll talk with Larry at 8:15, and then we'll talk about even if we have to organize some sort of debate of our own, so that Larry can get an opportunity to debate because he doesn't meet the $750,000 threshold that these millionaires are coming to the table with. So we'll talk to Larry about that, and and then we'll talk a little hip hop a little later this evening as well. So let me go on and bring in the disciples, and I'll let them pick it up from there.
Thank you so much, Brother Ed. I appreciate you always
Yes.
for your diligence, your hard work, your consistency, and your commitment to the rise and the liberation of our people. Once again, my name is Haqq Muhammad. I'm the student minister of the Honorable Minister Louise Farrakhan for the Muhammad Mosque of Islam, number 25, which is located here in the city of Newark, New Jersey. By the grace and mercy of God, we are here once again for another week of our show, The Disciples. I have with me my esteemed co-host. He's a stranger to some, but many who are in Newark and the surrounding areas, they know our brother very well. He really needs no introduction, but for the sake of the show, I'll let my brother reintroduce himself again.
Well, grace and peace be unto you from God our Father, Lord Jesus Christ. Overseer Bryant Ali here, better known as the pastor in the hood, Ali. And I pastor the New Summers Worship Center, located at 418 Mount Avenue inside the Mount Olivet Baptist Church, and among other things. So I'm just glad to be alive and glad to be on another night with the disciples and with my dear brother, Minister Haqq Muhammad. So it's all good in the hood. How about you?
Yes, sir. Once again, it's good to be with you, Brother Ali, Brother Ed. We had a busy few weeks here in the city of Newark, New Jersey, with all that's been going on. We know that the mayor, along with the police department, the Office of Violence Prevention, along with several other organizations, they just did the year-end review where crime is concerned, gave us the statistics and the stats in terms of how we did in 2023, where violence and other crime is concerned. And the biggest room in the house, as I'm taught from my leading teachers, is always the room for improvement. But we know that Newark had 48 homicides, 48 murders, which I believe is like a 60-year low.
Low it is.
For the city of Newark. Brother Ed, Brother Ali, you've been around long before I was. You remember the days of 113 murders, 110 murders, 105 murders.
Yeah.
So again, the loss of one life is catastrophic and it's devastating. But when we can reduce those numbers from 113, 105, 100 murders to 48 murders, we know the year before that, maybe 53 or 50. We've been in that 50, 51, 52 range where murders are concerned. Newark did not get the title Brick City for nothing.
Yeah.
So to be able to reduce such a high number of murders from 100 to 48.
It's amazing. And
yes, it's amazing. Of course.
Giving kudos to because back then, especially during the summer, when it was hot, it was nothing for us to have 7 and 8 murders in a week, 2 and 3 in a day, especially during the summertime. It was like in the wintertime, it would be cold. So they would go inside. So if anybody got murdered, it was inside wall. But it was like, Ed can vouch for this, come springtime, come summertime, everybody had to come outside. And that's when they started picking them off. That's when our numbers would go up to at least October. Before they go down.
You know, my teacher, the Honorable Minister Louise Farrakhan, taught us from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Brother Ed, that honor is never truly given until the work is done. But the scripture does teach us to give credit to whom credit is due and honor to whom honor is due. We know that many brothers and sisters have been working very hard, very consistent. They've been very dedicated in striving to improve the quality of life where the citizens and residents of Newark is concerned. And I think that 48 murders is a testament to their tenacity, to their hard work, to their patience, to their diligence, to their love, and to their courage. We know again, at the beginning of this year, we had a devastating murder with the murder of Imam Hassan Sharif, which sent shockwaves throughout our community, and not just Newark, but in the surrounding areas throughout the country and really throughout the world. So that definitely was a setback to the great and tremendous work that we've been doing, and work that brother Imam Sharif helped. We know that he was always an advocate for peace, always an advocate for re-education, always an advocate for brotherhood and sisterhood, and striving to make our communities a safe and decent place to live. So to have him murdered in the way that he was murdered, it definitely was heartbreaking to those of us in the city of Newark who know him, who walk with him, who work with him, to reduce those 113 murders, 105 murders to 48. Again, but Brother Sharif was a man who was not aware of the dangers that come along with doing this type of work in the area that he was doing it in. So we thank God for his life. We thank God for his family and all that he did in dedicating his life to bring about peace in the city of Newark and the surrounding areas. But again, those numbers, as you said, Brother Ali, were very impressive. And I know sometimes, again, as a people, we can be antagonistic, sometimes pessimistic, not always excited when we hear that crime has been reduced, because we know that, you know, crime and violence is an ongoing thing. So for someone who lost their son, or who lost their daughter, or who lost their niece, or who lost their nephew to violence, you know, they may be not impressed. Again, they're grieving, suffering from anxiety and other things that come along with losing a close loved one and a relative. So we definitely send our condolences to them. And, you know, we pray that God will heal them and God will help them. But for those of us who are here, we are going to continue to strive to do the work of Jesus, the work of Muhammad, the work of Moses, the work of all of those great worthies, divine men and women of God who sought to bring about peace to a world of chaos and a world of disorder. And not just the work of Jesus, Moses, and Muhammad, but the work of Marcus Garvey, the work of Noble Drew Ali, you know, the work of Fannie Lou Hamer, the work of Malcolm X, the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louise Farrakhan, the work of Amiri Baraka, the work of Larry Hamm, the work of Ras Baraka, the work of so many who have walked the streets of Newark and the streets of America, striving to re-educate our people, enlighten our people, and make our people love one another. So
we praying for his sister. At least our younger sister belongs to my ministry. So we want to keep her lifted up because she's taking her brother's death very hard. And there's some challenges within the family that I can't go public with that is happening right now. So we want to keep the whole family lifted up, but especially his sister. And then I also want to celebrate another one of my members, Keisha Yuri, who has been appointed deputy mayor, and her role is over the police. So she has she's up and going on with that thing. And Keisha has been around the ministry a long time. Keisha at one time was a significant other of my late son, Ian. So she's family. We call her the first daughter. So we're asking God to protect her and to keep her mind and give her strength as she go forth in this important work. So I want to celebrate her because it was worth of all the organizations that came together why those numbers have dropped down. I believe in giving credit where credit is due, in the street teams and all the other teams that are out there, and Mosque number 25 and all the other masjids and everybody, the churches, everybody that came together that were not afraid of the enemy, realizing no weapon formed against us shall prosper, and every tongue that try to rise up against us in judgment, we have the power to bring down. So we're very proud of our Lakeisha as she go forth in her own walk and paving her own path and the pathway to peace.
That's right, brother. Pastor Ali, and we really appreciate you for lifting our sister Keisha Uri, who's been doing a great job. She's been promoted to deputy mayor. Another one of our brothers, friends who assists me here at Mosque number 25, Brother Josiah Paul, who has been, risen in status to, I think he's over Brick City Peace Collective. So many, Don Hayes, Sharif Amin Hotep, the North Anti-Violence Coalition, North Community Street Team, so many brothers and sisters, New Direction. Some of those brothers will be interviewing and talking to shortly at 6:30. So many brothers and sisters, the mosques, the churches, doing rallies, shutting down streets, shutting down blocks. Everybody has had a hand in this crime reduction, the reduction of murder, and the reduction of crime. Every organization that, as the Honorable Minister Louise Farrakhan teaches us, has value. So we really appreciate all of the work that everyone in the city of Newark has been doing. We know that right now at 6 o'clock, the city of Newark is having a Newark men's meeting. That's been going on the last several years. Again, that has been effective. So, we really thank the mayor and all of the organizations, for their hard work and their efforts, for coming together, thinking outside of the box, coming up with radical solutions to this problem that has plagued us as a people for a very, very long time. Again, we didn't get in this condition overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us that there's no problem today that is as hard to solve as the problem of uniting the American so-called Negro, because we have like a dead people totally without life that have lost all love for ourselves and love for one another. So again, we didn't get in this condition overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight. But we thank all of the brothers and sisters who've had the courage, who've had the fortitude, the patience to want to come together and to improve the quality of life for all of those who are in the city of Newark in which we live. Brother Ed, you've been around for a long time. You've been in many meetings. You've sat many discussions, many planning sessions. You heard many things promised. But this past weekend, we just had a Kings Raising Kings. Prior to this, we had a King Stop Killing Kings several years ago. We marched, we walked, we talked, we came together, we introduced the North Peace Agreement. But this time around, we had Kings Raising Kings. So you were there, Brother Ed. What are some of your thoughts on what you saw, what you witnessed, what you heard, what you experienced, what you felt?
But I got to tell you, man, and I was sharing this with Bashir. There was one young brother that really had a profound effect on me, really for a number of days. The young brother who had the suit on,
Brother Shadi.
Shadi, that
He's gonna be with us. He's gonna be with us tonight, God willing.
Oh man, brother, I was really, really moved by this young brother because, the thing is, Ali, so when a young brother says how he's been affected by the school system, right? Ali, and Haqq, this as well. There, but for the grace of God, go all of us, right? Because it was difficult for me too, Ali, and I'm sure it was for you, right? Like, because I didn't go back to college until I was 27, right? I had a boxing career. I lived in Philadelphia, did all of that, but I barely made it out of high school, right? Because what I was, what I was learning in high school was not comparative to what I had learned in the Nation of Islam at 12 years old. Right. So for me to go through junior high school, and going to history class and all the stuff I'm learning, and is running counter to what Message to the Black Man says, right?
Right.
So when Shadi was talking, I understood what he was saying when he was saying that, how, he had difficulty reading and how he wasn't really present in class. I understood all of that because, when I was going to school, it was tough for me, right? Trying to, learn from, and then the other thing is that the majority of the teachers that we were learning from, those teachers didn't look like us.
No, and they didn't think like us, and they didn't come from around here.
And they didn't come from where we came from, right? So the at the only time I really got that level of education, to be honest with you, is I got that when I was at Robert Treat with Amiri Baraka and Eugene Campbell, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I was a young man going through 1 through 6, right there where Science High School is now. That's where I went to grammar school at, Brother Haqq, right? As a child, it used to be called Robert Treat, and then it became Marcus Garvey. And at that time, Amiri Baraka was a teacher there. Eugene Campbell was the principal. All of his sisters were teachers. And so, that level of Black culture that we had, but then once you left there and you went to junior high school, your chances of running into Black male teachers or Black conscious teachers, was really 0 to none.
And it's
so
because
at that King's
Go ahead. No, I'm listening.
At that King's Raising Kings, what broke my heart, man, was to hear that Brother Shadi, man. You know what I mean? And I understood at that very moment, man, that, because one of the things he said, Brother Haqq, you probably remember this, he said that he felt safe telling his story among the brotherhood that was in that room, right? And we don't have enough of those spaces, I think, where we can, as men, where we can really go and have those kind of conversations and talk about what's really happening in our life. So, I really thought that was a really important meeting. I thought all of the brothers that were at that meeting were very powerful, and it affected me all week long, man.
Mm.
And wow. I think the challenge is, I know for me coming up, Richie Graves was my Black history teacher in Hillside. Hillside back in the 70s, I learned what racism was from A to Z. My father moved us out there, my mother and father trying to get us out of New York and get us away. I was in 7th Avenue Junior High School. And most of my teaching came from Mosque number 25, Mosque number 82 out in Elizabeth, but 25B. So just going to the classes, being a junior FOI at that time, I learned my history, Yeah. So when I came, I never forget, at high school, my first week in high school, my senior year, I stood up there at that time with Muhammad Speaks, and then it became Blaulian News. And boy, them white folk had a fit. What had happened to me, that I was out there, but I had came into my own, came into consciousness and came into studying. And it's the first time in high school that I made the honor roll.
Yeah.
Because I started seeking knowledge, and I won't allow nobody to steal out my mind. My mind was a terrible thing to waste. I knew the Negro College Fund did that, but I was wasting my mind. And everything that I have gained during my 65 years of life has been from studying, self-study, and listening to everything, eating the meat and spitting the bones out.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very profound meeting. I thought many of the brothers who were in that room are brothers that are very active in terms of the crime reduction that is in the city of Newark, New Jersey. We know we had New Direction there. Brother Tut, Brother Shadi, who were the orchestrators of it. We had a Brick City Peace Collective there. We had many city officials there. We had pastors, clergy there. Reverend Roundtree stopped through, even though it was a meeting for brothers or kings. She had to stop through. We had sisters, I guess, just like it was at the Million Man March, Brother Ed Riley. Although it was men, there were sisters in the back.
That's right.
So our sister was there helping, facilitating anything that we could do, anything we needed. Our sister was right there, as she always is, supporting the king. So we really appreciate her and all of the brothers that were there. And many of the brothers who were there were not brothers that were just talking. They were brothers again who have been in the streets, been at rallies, been a part of the conflict resolution sessions. You know, so they weren't there just speaking and talking, Brother Ed, Brother Ali,
Yes, sir.
and Reverend Rountree. They've been brothers that have been in the community these past several years, doing all that they can do to educate and enlighten our youth. Again, Brother Shadi, his talk was very profound. He's very vulnerable. He didn't hold anything back. I think he touched everybody. There wasn't a dry eye in the room after Shadi finished speaking about his experiences and being a young black man in North, talking about how he was tricked and how he was told that the brother that was on the other side of town was his enemy or was his op. And I remember he said, man, let that man live. He said, let that man live. Let that man live. Talked about losing his family member, his close relative to violence while he was in the midst of trying to, resolve conflict, that he lost his own close cousin, his close relative. And he did not allow that to make him move backwards. It only gave him the strength and the courage and the fortitude to continue to press on. And he realized then that what he was doing was necessary. He interviewed the son of his cousin on his show, which was a very difficult discussion. He said to tell his family, man, not to retaliate, not to do nothing. That was a very hard discussion, very hard conversation that he had to have. And that many of those brothers who were once affiliated or who are still in those spaces was trying to promote peace when all we have known as a people, particularly, is violence. To tell those brothers not to retaliate, to there's an alternative. It can be very difficult, but our brother has accepted the challenge. We appreciate him and all that he's done and all that he will continue to do, and those who are with him. We know Brother Maisan was there. Until Freedom was there. Tamika Mallory was there in the back supporting Brother Maisan, cheering us on. So praise be to God for them. Maisan, boycott black murder. Again, he started with the chant, the rally, I can't kill my brother because I love my brother, which was very powerful affirmation and chant that he started kind of the meeting with. Again, the mayor closed it out in strength, as he always does. He was there supporting in the wings. So it was a very great meeting, very impactful meeting since Keisha was there, who's been on the front line of past several years. Brother Bashir Akinelli was there. Brother Sharif Amenhotep, the North Anti-Violence Coalition, they were there supporting. It was a very impressive meeting. It was packed. It was full. We had young people there who were listening, who were watching. So we just thank God again for his mercy, his grace, and his inspiration to give us the strength and the spirit to want to come together, in this perilous time. So Reverend Rountree, you were there. What were your thoughts on what you saw, what you heard, what you experienced at that meeting?
What I experienced, first of all, good evening. It is so glad to be back on All Politics and Local, the number one hip hop radio station. God bless you, Minister Haqq Muhammad. From the day I met you, we could talk about the men's meeting. They had you as the keynote speaker. And see, this is what great leaders do. You're highlighting all of the beauty that we saw. There is beauty in unification.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing was to see all those brothers not be afraid, not fearful of telling their story. Just like you said, when Jai got up and started saying, we say this in church, Brother Ali, somebody can be delivered from our testimony.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know
overcome by the testimony of the saints.
You don't know what brother out there that just needed that little bitty push to hear that if God did it for me, he can do it for you. And the truth is, it's not always that narrative is not necessarily spent that way, but the evidence is in the visual. Do y'all get it? The evidence is in the visual. So if you can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it. Some of us need that type of evidence. How do you know you have a toothache? You can't see it, but you can feel it. Some of us can walk on that kind of faith and walk on that type of evidence. But there's some of us that have been pulled and pushed to the back, thrown to the back, took ourselves to the back, need to see and hear what this brother did. And all of them did. Listen, we ain't gonna talk about you, minister, because every time you get up in front of the room, God speaks to you and gives a mighty word that is relevant for whoever the audience is. Whoever's there, God prepares you and gives you. And thank God for you leading taking the lead. But it was an awesome. Listen, you can't just do one a year. Not like that. And
Right.
some of the women I was saying that were there were women that needed to probably be there because some of them don't have no kings in the house.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
So the women that were there, if they weren't the women in support of the kings, raising kings, then they needed to be some women that understood what kings' responsibilities are, what kings are doing, what kings have messed up, what kings are trying to do better so they can be better at raising kings.
Right.
So
That's
yeah,
right.
it was
That's,
it was it was everything.
that's right. And those type of meetings don't happen every day. And when they do happen, we are not ashamed to highlight them. Again, we understand that the biggest room in the house is always the room for improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And we have
Yeah.
much work to do, but we do want to celebrate and highlight all of those brothers that came together to strive to make a difference. Again, we know that there's much more that we can do, but we thank God for what we did do and what by God's grace we will continue to do. Again, 48 murders for those who family members maybe were a victim or one of those 48 people that was murdered. It's definitely not easy to overcome the loss of a loved one, a close relative. So we definitely send out our condolences
Yes.
to all of those who lost, a son or a father or uncle or a mother or aunt to gun violence. Again, we didn't get in this condition overnight, and we are not going to get out of it overnight. But if we continue to unite our efforts, the best of our minds, the best of our talent, then there's nothing that we can't overcome, and there's nothing that we can't do. As the scripture says, blessed are the overcomers. And as a people, we've been overcoming for a very, very long time in this country. And we know that many of the things that we suffer from as a people, they are by design. We know that there's a constant and consistent effort to make sure that we are not united. We have the documentary evidence of that, Brother Ed, Brother Ali. There's agents among us. There are troublemakers and rabble-rousers among us who always want to start trouble. I see our brother Shadi has just gotten on. He probably at the men's meeting. We thank Almighty God Allah for our brother. But our brother is here at 6:30. Brother Shadi of New Direction. We were just talking about you, my dear brother, about your phenomenal speech. I don't even want to call it a speech, but your phenomenal testimony and how you touched the hearts of everyone who was in that room, young and old. We could feel your passion. We could feel your love, your sincerity in the words that you spoke. Man, it was groundbreaking there, brother. And I know that wasn't your intent to impress anybody, but you just wanted to let those in the room know your experience and what you had been through and why you were there at that moment in time, and what the Kings Raising Kings meant to you and what the work that we are doing means to you and the members of New Direction, Brother Tut, the various other brothers. So again, we thank you for being here with us. Again, as Brother Ed just reminded us, we didn't get a bio, but it's all right. Our brother is here.
Wait a minute, he's a walking bio.
Yeah, that's
Watch
right.
this.
Our brother is here.
Once he started talking, Brother Ed, he is the bio. I can tell you that I have worked with this brother. I met him long before Office of Violence Prevention. This brother was already, sometimes people, and let me just be real brief. Sometimes people are looking for something that's there that they just can't see.
Mm.
They look. I don't know what folks are looking for people who are in the process. Every one of us, Ali, you, me, Brother Ed, we're all still under construction. We're all still a work in progress. So when a young man like this comes out and presents himself as he did with the Kings, raising kings, as he does on the scenes of homicides and shootings, and coming out doing the work in the street, not just talking about it, but being about it. That's his bio. He don't just talk about what he's been through. He's not being about what it is to help others get through. I'm gonna stop right there.
All right.
Reverend Louise. So we have our brother Shadi, known in the street as 8 the Great. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, brother Shadi, in terms of your upbringing. Again, you wonderfully gave it to us at the Kings Raising Kings. So if you could just give us the abbreviated version for everybody in our listening audience who may don't know you, just a quick bio of yourself and how did you get to become a part of New Direction. I think you're on mute, my brother. We still can't hear you, brother. Nah, you probably gotta hit the mic and hit unmute yourself.
No worries.
You gonna come back on? Okay, I think he logged off. He gonna
go ahead.
Come back on. Yeah, Reverend Roundtree. So you were saying the brother has been working. There you go. You back on, brother Shadi.
You back on?
You can hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead there, brothers.
Oh, all right. First and foremost, thank all y'all for having me up here. I appreciate it. And you said just briefly, man. My name's Shadi Dukes. I go by the name 8 the Great, and I'm born and raised right here in the city of Newark, New Jersey. And I attended Weekway High School, 2000 to 2004, and I got into this. I got into this work because it called me to it. I can't think of one particular event, but it was just a series of events that was happening in my life that I couldn't really, get a grasp on or understand why. But I did understand, the path that I went through wasn't for no reason. And, losing close friends and family members, somewhere along the path, I heard the saying, you got to become the change that you want to see. And, so around 2014 was when I started to make my personal transition. And I was just never afraid to try. And I didn't need anyone particular to tell me right from wrong, because I knew right from wrong because of my upbringing and those that I kept around me. So, fast forwarded a little bit more, I got introduced to, to what we know right now as the work of high-risk intervention, because I was just doing for my community. I was just doing for Hawthorne and Clinton Police. And then NCST had actually came into the Nantucket building, and I had already knew Damon Durden, and he introduced me to the work, and I started to learn more. Then, and just professionalizing it. But that's a shorthand version of it.
Yeah, how was that transition for you, brother Shadi, coming out of that life? Many of the people you were around still having that old mindset. How was that transition for you when you begin to change and want to do different? What were some of the difficulty factors that you encountered by some of the brothers that you were with prior to your change?
Yeah, well, I think the transition is every day, right? Like, I never stop transitioning. It's because. So it's pretty much fabricated into my DNA at this point, because you never the challenges never go away. I don't believe that things got easier for me. I just got better equipped at handling them. So the difficulty has always been we challenging the culture right now, right? And that's that's the everyday, that's everybody that's around us. And the challenge, like the pushback of it was substantial for a long time. Like a lot of my peers didn't understand what I was doing, the role that I was playing, who I was becoming. So I had a lot of people distance themselves from me, but I had attracted even more people, more of the right people, and I just, like Ms. Roundtree just spoke on, I just always had faith in it. It was the evidence of, right. It was like, you can't see the pain, but you can feel it. And I couldn't see the pain that I was causing to myself or other people, but I could feel it. My spirit just wasn't right. If I could, if I could speak from that perspective, it was disruptive. So everything that I was trying to, like, I was just justifying and just always looking for shortcuts, but it never felt right when I obtained things, and it never seemed enough, because I was cheating, but I thought I was cheating the system, but in all actuality, I was cheating myself, and I felt it, and I couldn't get myself right. But I knew that was because I wasn't doing things the right way, and I just tried to self-medicate, right? Like, whether it was through money or smoking or whatever it was, to try to quiet the voices or my the spirits that was telling me I was doing wrong. But it's a push every day.
Yes, sir. We really appreciate that, Brother Shadi. Again, I don't know if you heard, but Brother Ed was saying how what you said affected him and impacted him profoundly, and particularly when you talked about going to school.
Yes, sir.
And how school was different from what you were getting at home, what you were being taught at home, and coming up and not being able to read. We know so many of our brothers, in our neighborhoods are illiterate. They don't know how to read. And scientists say that contributes to our chances of being incarcerated or going to jail. So just talk about that, if you could, as well, in terms of going to school and how, the challenges that you faced there as a young man, being part of a street organization and going to school.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it was a different world, so to speak, right? Because in that facet, or that world, like of our educational system, it wasn't not, I don't want to say it wasn't cool, but it wasn't cool to be the smart guy, right? And leave yourself exposed, because we came up, like, and especially in like that high school and that middle school era, it was a lot of fighting going on, a lot of bullying going on. And if you wasn't attached to something, if you wasn't attached for something, you was a victim, right? Like, you was an easy prey, you was an easy mark for other guys to get off on. And no matter how strong you were individually, that was just more people to line up to fight you or oppose you. So it was just easier to blend in. And then once you hit that little point where the violence didn't bother you, and you could go just as it just pretty much came down to who was willing to go the furthest. And because that's what protected you, right? Whether who your family was inside the space, or who your crew was. And that it was in the late 90s, early 2000s, the streets of Newark shifted, and we picked up the West Coast culture. And we picked up the West Coast culture, but we picked up the negative aspects of the West Coast culture, right? And so only thing we knew was colors and neighborhood representation. That's why it was real strict and real limited on the places that you could go or the things that you could wear, because it was unsafe, because people was jumping on you. And so we just had to adapt. And The school books wasn't saving me because poverty wasn't my enemy when I was, when I was that age. Or it was the guys across the street or the guys around the corner. It was a guy with the gun. Like, so those enemies was a lot more prevalent than the bigger scope of things, because our world was so small. But what ended up happening is we was hurting each other. We was hurting each other to an unprecedented magnitude over the simplest things, over colors, over neighborhood our mother raised us in. And that's where I felt, and that's where my disdain from, and that's where I felt tricked at.
Wow, yes, sir. Any questions, Brother Ed, Brother Ali? I got another question for our brother.
Well, I think I want to hear from the brother. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, say that. Give me that one again.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because you're going on a path now. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Myself in 5 years, man. I see me still doing what I'm doing now. Like, I still see myself on the front line of this, even more educated and even more influential. That's just a shorthand answer of it, but this right here, this lifestyle that I live and everything that I do, this here to stay. And not to go on, but my ultimate goal is I'm here for impact. I'm not here for longevity. I'm here with a purpose. So every single day I live it as if it's my last. So wherever I am right now today, I just see myself times 10, times 1,000. But first and foremost, I'm appreciative of where I'm at now, because I didn't know where I was, opposed to 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yes, sir.
So I think for me, first off, my brother, I want to say that I appreciate you being vulnerable the way you were. A lot of us, man, would never have been that honest, particularly in a room with a bunch of brothers that you didn't know, right?
Yeah.
And most of us would never really tell, our journey the way you told yours.
Yeah.
And so I want to commend you, because that affected me all week. A lot of the spaces I was in, I talked about that meeting, and I particularly talked about you. I shared your photo that I had taken of you with some of the brothers who are some extremely powerful prosecutors, black prosecutors in this country.
Yes, sir.
Shared your photo with them and talked about what you talked about. And we all have said that, obviously you represent us. Therefore, to the glory of God gave us, right?
Yes, sir.
And we all have gotten away in some kind of sense, right? Because when we walk into a room, and white folks say niggas make me sick, they don't stop to say, "Oh, Ed Riley, by the way, got a law degree from NYU, so he's not really a nigga." But Shadi, we don't have a law degree, but Shadi is a nigga. No, they said them niggas make me sick, so I'm just as much you as you are me.
That's right.
And so I appreciated, your whole presentation, man. I think that it affected my wife in very profound ways. She left. That meeting, she cried when she was sitting there. She cried when she got in the car. Not so much she cried for you, she cried for your story, right? Because at the end of the day, we see how we end up in those particular places that we end up in, right? Mm-hmm. And we understand that in order for us to get out of it, it's going to take brothers like you who are willing to do the work that you're doing now, right? And I want to thank you, man. I want to commend you for being willing to take the challenge on, because a lot of brothers aren't really willing to do that because they don't want to be that vulnerable, right? They want you to think that, excuse my language, Roundtree, they want you to think they got their shit together. You know what I mean? and it's hard for them to really tell you that there was a time when we didn't have it all together, right? Like, if Ali told you his story, you look at him now and he told you his story, you say, whoa, I had no idea. But
Yeah.
none of us, man, have come to this, right? Just because we've had the path laid out for us. And most of us aren't willing to tell. So I thank you, man, because you impacted me that Saturday morning, and I'm grateful to you, and I'm glad to have you on All Politics Are Local, and at the end of the day, man, I'm willing to do anything I can to help, anything that you involved in, man, because I think that um, you know it is the kind of talk that I think that young brothers need to have, right? Because
Mhm.
most people aren't going to be that vulnerable, and you were willing to do it. Because I can tell you point blank, man. I'm 62 years old, man.
Yeah.
I've got 3 college degrees. Ain't
Yeah.
no way in hell, man. I'm willing to be as vulnerable as you were willing to be, brother.
Yes, sir.
And that's why you had to stay vulnerable, because many times people will say you tell too much. I remember you when you first started coming around the Tech Center.
That's
Reverend
right.
Louise first opened it up, and you were
That's
quiet,
right.
trying to work your way through. And now that's why I said, well, you see yourself 5 years now. Look at you 5 years later.
Word.
5 years later. So I commend you. I commend you.
I appreciate y'all, man. I thank you.
We love you, Sade.
Yes,
How
sir.
you too, Miss
Listen,
Roundtree?
whenever I come on the scene, Brother Ed,
Yeah.
Minister, Pastor Ali, let me tell you something. He remind me of my brothers in the nation. He come up, he be like, you all right? What you need?
Mhm.
It's good that when you come into a situation and nobody knows how it's going to end, what's happening at the moment, everybody trying to navigate their way through trauma and whatever else is going on. There might not be well, look, on pleasant scenes he does the same thing, but it's just amazing, amazing, amazing. So you keep on, you be encouraged, young man, because watch this. We do know that all things
Mhm.
work together for the good for those who are called according to his purpose. Now listen, you definitely have a purpose, you're fulfilling it, and even though some of us are called, distractions still try to get in the way. Don't you be distracted. Don't worry about an obstacle. You keep on pushing your way to your purpose through your pain.
Yes, man. That's right.
And
And I do want to
Proud of
share
you.
something. Thank you. I appreciate all y'all, and I do want to share something, right? But, so first and foremost, me sharing wasn't for me, right? It was for us, because we have to have these examples have to be set, and those we have to walk the path for those who aren't able to walk it for themselves, and sometimes we all just need that little bit more encouragement. And I do want to say that sadly enough, we have lost a young brother who attended that Kings Raising Kings breakfast,
Oh, wow.
right? The young brother was just murdered on Urchin at 18th Avenue 2 days ago. He attended breakfast, and he
Hold on,
was
brother.
there, and he was.
Brother Sade.
Yes, sir.
Can you say that again? Because the phone kind of broke up. Can you say that with us again, there, brother?
You can hear me?
Yeah, we
we
can
hear
hear
you
you.
now.
Yeah, can you just repeat what you said?
You can hear me?
Yeah, yes,
Yes, we
sir.
hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, I said our young brother who attended the Kings Raising Kings breakfast with us this past Saturday morning, he lost his life over here on Irvin Turner and 18th Avenue just the day before yesterday. He was gunned down inside the corner store, and that impacted. I'm a part of the rapid response team, and leaving the Office of Violence Prevention, on my journey home, we seen the block blocked off, and you know I can't go into no further, but yeah,
No.
yeah, but it was
He
a,
was
it was
20
a
years
kid on the
old, right?
ground. Yes, sir. He just came back to the city, and he was, he came to the breakfast, and he was looking to get on his feet. We've been working with him, throughout the week, and and sadly that happened. But we was out there on the scene before the family got there, and and upon that, probably like an hour later, the family had arrived, and then we learned who it was that was on the ground, and we stayed out there with the family, and everybody until they picked his body up and everything. But this is the reality of who we are and what we do. I say all that to say, we here for the impact, man, and things like that is why we do what we do. Things like that is the is the core and the basis. These are our youth. This is our city. This is our community, and I have to be who I am because I don't have time to wait for somebody to come and do anything for us. See, everything that we need in our current positions, we already have. So I don't believe in waiting for anything, waiting for Superman to come save us. We got to become our own Superman.
Superman, yeah.
Superman's
Like
not coming.
He ain't coming. He ain't coming. It's a pacifier. Just be patient. Nah, we can't be patient. Our kids and our community is suffering. And so yeah, I just wanted to make sure I shared that on this platform, man, because this thing is heavy. It weighs heavy on us, man.
Well, Brother Shadi, thank you, dear brother. As our show come to a close,
Yes, sir.
we really appreciate you, dear brother, and what you have done and what you will continue to do by God's grace. Again,
That's
we
right.
pray for you and your family for new direction, for all of the organizations in the city of Newark, New Jersey, all of our citizens, everyone who have lost a loved one this year. We definitely praying for the family of our young brother who we recently lost. We pray that Almighty God, Allah, will lift the burden of sorrow from their hearts and all of our hearts. Some of us, God takes in the womb, and some of us He allowed to grow to old age. We all know that we're going to die, but none of us know the time or the hour. Only God knows. But we thank Him for the life that He permits us and allow us to live. We thank God for allowing that brother to be at that meeting to see what he saw.
Yep.
Before he was gunned down. But again, Brother Shadi, as you said, that is the root of why we do what we do, to prevent another young 20-year-old
That's
from
right.
that same fate. So we're going to ask God to give us more strength and more courage and more unity, right? That we can stand up and not only just intervene when things happen, but try to prevent things from happening. So we appreciate you, dear brother. We love you. You have our full support here at All Politics Local, the Disciple Show. We're rooting for you, and we praying for your protection and your safety, the safety of New Direction, and all of those, your comrades who are with you in your struggle. So thank you, brother. We appreciate you. We look forward to having you again. We got 5 minutes left. Good to see you, Sister Donna.
You know what? John gave y'all 30 more minutes. He said y'all could stay to 7:30.
What?
I know.
I
Is that why the sergeant of arms is not on the show?
That's right.
Yeah.
Look,
Because
I really appreciate
Minister,
that. But I got another meeting at 7 o'clock. I got at 7:30. I got to leave to get there by 7:30.
Yes, sir.
Minister Haqq,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, I do want to ask, and to the brother who came on, sorry for your loss, and know that we're all praying for you, and if we could ever be, if there's anything, how we can help you from prayer or resources for the family, please let us know. Minister Haqq, that when we had the opportunities now, and I'm very appreciative of Ed televising the words that you had brought forth at the breakfast. In terms of young people, if they wanted to come down to your place of prayer, what are the hours? When can they come? How is the best time? Because a lot of the room was full of young men, and they were listening very intently as I panned the room from when I seen Ed filming. But if people want to come down and to your ministry, what are the hours and times and throughout the week, and how can they get involved?
Well, we there every Sunday at 11 o'clock. Doors open at 10:30. We there every
Mhm.
Wednesday from 7:30 to 9, and every Friday also from 7:30 to 9. Monday night we have our men's only class
Mhm.
for those young men that maybe want to learn more about what we do, what we teach. They could come down on Monday at 6:30. We have our orientation from 6:30 to 7:30. So they all are welcome to come and be a part. Definitely this Sunday we'll be there at 11 o'clock. We have a guest minister from Brooklyn, New York, Brother Henry Muhammad. So we definitely invite our people, and particularly our young people, to come out, and hear the word and the guidance that we've been given from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through the Honorable Minister Louise Farrakhan. So they're more than welcome to come, Sister Donna.
Okay. And did y'all
You
have
welcome,
a step?
you
And
welcome to come too, Sister Donna.
oh, I know, I'm welcome. And
You welcome
is
to
it?
come too, Sister Donna.
Yes.
Brother,
Oh, yeah. I will be. I will. I am. I'm making my
What's the
business to
address?
be there.
we have
What's the address?
498. We have 498 Ferry Street right now. 498 Ferry Street, down bottom. We down bottom, not too far from Hyatt Court, Brother Shadi. We right down bottom. So please come and be with us
Yes,
and
sir.
learn more. Again,
And
Brother Shadi, real quick, because he talked about on that King Stop Killing Kings, he talked about, and his story was similar to yours, Brother Ed, because you said that when you went to school, you heard of Baraka. And Brother Shadi talked
Yeah.
about he heard of
Mhm.
a Baraka that inspired him
Mm.
to ultimately want to stand up and learn more about who he was and how he can help his community. And I think that's important. Again, one man stood up with the courage and the love that his father had instilled in him to not leave his community, but to come help the youth and young people of his
That's what's
community.
up.
And Shadi was one of those young men who he mentored, who he
Mm.
knew, who he talked to. And
Yep.
look at Brother Shadi today. So
Mhm.
again, you never know what you know, just speaking to one individual can do.
Can
Shadi was
do.
one man,
That's
but
one
he's
man.
influenced and impacted many, hundreds of young men like him. So, Brother Shadi, let that be encouragement to you to keep going there, brother. To keep
Yes,
going,
sir.
keep pushing, keep going traveling that uphill road, as the Quran says. Because again, your voice, your story, as Brother Ed said, it can change the life of one of them young men who were in that room. It definitely changed my perspective, and I
That's
know
right.
Brother Ed's as well. Pastor Ali, yours, Reverend Roundtree, your Sister Donna,
That's
you was
right.
one of the sisters that was in the back who wasn't supposed to be there, but you was there, Sister Donna, and we let you in. We let
Why you why you
we
say
let
she
you.
was supposed?
I'm
I,
Wait a
just
minute, wait a
I,
minute,
I'm just
I,
joking,
wait a
Reverend
minute,
Roundtree.
Brother
wait a minute.
Ed let me in.
I'm
I
just
was
Wait a
like,
joking.
look
minute.
at this.
I'm
Wait a
just
minute, hold
joking.
on. What did I say earlier? I said there were sisters in the house that maybe needed to hear about the kings raising kings so they could tell some other sisters what they got from the kings.
No,
That,
no,
that,
I'm just joking, Reverend Roundtree.
I know you
Look,
are.
we can't go nowhere without our queens.
Sister, wait a minute,
Definitely.
Sister Donna gonna go tell some brothers. Listen, you see, she
That's
already telling them they got to come to you for prayer. She
that's
already on
right.
the road.
And that's
Listen,
right. And brother Shadi, I have to go, but and brother Shadi, if brothers want to help support New Direction, where can they find you? Your Instagram page. What can they do if they want to become a part of help out? Maybe they got some conflicts. Who can they reach out to?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, we use Instagram a lot. Mine is 8 the Great. And my brother Tut is Tut. What is his Tut New Direction?
Right, Tut New Direction. That's right.
Uh-huh. And we got we also got the page new underscore direction 360. But and you can find myself Monday through Friday over at the Hub Arts and Trauma Center,
Okay.
135
3
Prince Street,
minutes.
or I'm at the Office of Violence Prevention at 1017th Avenue.
She's not giving me.
Patrick,
The
can you
old
go on
Prince.
mute?
She's not.
Thank you. Go ahead, brother. Shadi. Say that again, brother.
Yeah, or you can find me either at the Hub Arts and Trauma Center, 135 Prince Street, or you can find me at the Office of Violence Prevention at 1017th Avenue. And yeah, we also frequent a few of the high schools inside the city, a number of them, and also we just only thing you gotta do is say my name loud enough.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Just say
sir.
my name loud
Yeah,
enough.
I can just go. I can go to my window and just say 8 the great right now.
That's
Then
right.
that's okay.
That's right. Somebody gonna hear you say it, they call you.
Well, listen, brother Shadi, thank you again for being our guest. Brother Ed, Sister Donna, Pastor Ali, I have to go. I got that meeting at 7:30 that I invited everybody to. So I got to leave here now to make it on time. But I appreciate you all, and may God bless you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.
Well, let us
Pastor
salam, my minister.
and Pastor Ali, and the same with you and Reverend Roundtree. If people want to come to your ministry, how do they when should they come? How do they,
Well,
how they,
on Sundays, I'm from 8:45 to 10 o'clock, 401 Avon Avenue inside the Mount Olivet Baptist Church every Sunday. And they can reach us during the week. Our number's out there, 973-634-1859, because we do say surrender at the church. So that's 24/7. So they can always reach out. Otherwise, they can see me on Instagram, Facebook, Pastor the Hood Ali.
Wait, you said that. Wait, Pastor Ali. So, because that was real fast. So you do safe surrender. So you have a line. If somebody needs to turn themselves into the Lord, they can call that number, and you got 24/7. You'll make it happen.
24/7. We work it out.
Okay, all right. And what's that number again?
973-634-1859.
859. Okay.
And Ali, how long have you been doing safe surrender? How long?
I've been doing it ever since the mayor asked us to get involved with it. So myself and Pastor Slaughter and a couple of other churches are involved. And what we do is through Keisha Uri and some other people, work that process and work it out. As long as they
Get folks that's scared to unsure of wanting to speak to anybody but someone. Ron Christian used to do it all the time.
Yeah, that's why I said when we
Reverend
lost
Ron
him.
started that station, honey. He was meeting people. Listen, this ain't nothing new. It's just that we got some new folks that decide to carry on the ministry. Reverend Ron used to have them come, and he would talk them into going with him wherever he was going. He was like, "Come on, meet me at the church. Come on, meet me," and he would walk them right on. Oh God.
Yeah.
And many of them I read right at the precinct, and talk to them, and I'll talk to their family, put their family at ease, and tell them how to say goodbye to everybody, et cetera, and make sure somebody who I find out who has the warrant.
Right.
Don't turn them over to anybody.
Right.
Then you have Imam. You had.
Who's gonna treat them right.
And Imam we just lost. He was one of the safe surrender ministers, I believe.
So let me ask you a question though, Ali. For people who don't know the process, how does safe surrender work? How does it work?
Well, the process is you got to have a warrant. They got to be looking for you. You just can't show up and say, "I want to go to jail."
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
I don't mean to make light of it, but that's the thing. You just can't show up and say, "I want to go to jail today."
And you don't always have to have a warrant, right? You can also be somebody that has done something, and before they come for you, make a phone call to Pastor Ali.
They still looking for you. You'd have done something, or you may want to confess something. Confess it, and then we can go through the proper channels. You may have did a murder 10 years ago. They haven't caught you. Nobody know it was you. I want to hear the facts of it before I put my name out there.
A cold case
is a pending cold case into going to jail for somebody else.
Right.
And as we just made light of that, we shouldn't. There is a time where people may commit a crime because it's easier to live on the streets when it's warm, but when it get cold, people don't have any place to go. So they sometimes will commit a crime so that they can have a warm place and some meals. So
Well, sometimes they do misdemeanors, but we kind of looking at
mhm.
homicides. We're kind of looking at rapes, looking at
Mhm.
armed robberies. We're talking about menaces, drug dealers,
Mhm.
so to speak. And some people just want to say, "I'm tired. I want to get out
Mhm.
this life. It's time for me to change my life."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so how has it been going? Because I know that a lot of brothers are afraid to just walk into a police station, right,
Mhm.
and just turn themselves in because, and particularly, a lot of them end up losing their lives,
Well,
right?
this is a challenge. Most of the ones I turned in, I helped turn in, were females.
Mm.
Oh, wow,
The brother wouldn't come. The
wow.
female came.
Why
Mm.
is that?
They won't afraid. One works at over there at Clinton Avenue. What's the place? It's on the tip of my tongue. The
Uh,
restaurant.
oh,
Kings.
Kings. Okay.
Yeah, they had gotten a fight, and a weapon was passed, or whatever the case may be. And the girl's mother called, and the girl showed up, and to her it was initially a game, but it was a game till they took her upstairs.
Hmm.
And then when she went behind the wall, she got to act together. I know she got to act together because she's still working
Hmm.
and doing well. And
Hmm.
sometimes people take it as a game. My son was incarcerated for 7 years, and he would go back and forth, and he never wanted to turn himself in. They would have to catch him.
Right.
They would
Right.
have to catch him, and he was always, just crazy, ready to die at every given thing. But when it came time for him to die, he was choked up with
Huh.
the cancer. You
Right.
know, and so when you look at it, as my wife say, the females are truly more gangster than the men. I was told this during a gang
Come
training.
on,
A lot of
lady,
the
Yeah.
Lady Ali
sisters
be
are
talking that
tough.
truth.
A
She
lot
be
of the sisters
talking
are
that
tough.
truth.
I sat down with them, and basically the person understands what they're doing. They're trying to
Mhm.
ease the pain of the family,
Mhm.
the kids, the sisters, the brothers, mama. And then folk may want to take revenge on the folk that reported them, filed charges against them. So it's not for everybody. It's according to what your charge is. I
Hmm.
tell some folk, get you a lawyer first. You need to go in there, because when you go in there, one of my kids back in the ministry from years ago, he did something in Hillside. I went to school with half the Hillside police force. He
Hmm.
didn't call me. They told him if he confessed to the 8-ball jacket robbery, they would let him go home.
Hmm.
He confessed. He didn't go home. He ended up doing 8 years. He
Hmm.
got out for a year and turned around and did 8 more years.
Wow.
So
Wow.
you go. So they lied to him.
They lied to him.
Mm.
They told him he could go home, but they didn't tell
Yeah.
him what home.
That's what they did to the Central Park Five, them young
Right,
brothers.
right, right.
Yes. 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 Yes.
They didn't have a safe surrender program that they could have went to, right? They just went to their parents took them to the police station,
Mm-hmm.
right?
My
And
daughter,
those police officers lied.
my oldest daughter had did something here, and she got caught in Virginia. And I told her, baby, let him take you and bring you back. When she got back here, I was able to work some corners, got a lawyer, da-di-da-di-da-di. But what she should have did 10 years for, she only ended up doing 9 months.
Hmm. Hmm. And that
And
was
then watch this. She did 9 months, right? Now she works for Greyhound. She's the district manager, making 6 figures. Only
Mm.
2 people over her, the regional manager and the owner.
hmm. Now, how long ago was this, Ali?
This recently, my daughter's working now, but this was less than, her daughter is 18, 19, 20. She was carrying her at the time. It's 20 years ago.
Wow. So she turned her life around 20 years ago.
20 years ago, she
And
turned
she's
her life
two
around.
people away from being the top person at Greyhound.
And, and,
Mhm.
and, and the good thing was, most of the girls that had up in Clinton said, we know you don't belong here.
Right.
Mm.
We know
Right.
you don't belong here. So they looked out for her.
Yeah.
Right.
They
And
looked
like
out
you
for her.
said, what she should have served 10 years, she did 9 months.
9 months, because she went in pregnant. They let her
Mm.
came home, had a baby. She had to go back. did that 9 months, but because of who she had a college degree. She was bright. She could write. She could read.
Right.
She
Mhm.
came home, got herself together, went through some challenges. I'm not gonna tell you
Mhm.
the perfect turnaround, but she
Right.
slowly turned herself around. But then when she got to working at she drove buses for a couple of years. And they said, "Hey, we need you in the front office." She got in the front office and worked her way up. And now
Mhm.
she the head honcho in charge at Port Authority for
Wow.
That New York hub.
Wow.
Okay. And
I
Reverend Rounch and
just
Reverend
was
Brown.
blessed to
Oh,
marry her a couple of weeks ago.
you
Say
just
that
Yes,
again.
married?
ma'am.
She just got married a couple of weeks ago too.
I'm
Love
here.
her.
Beautiful. No, I was saying, did if in terms of ministry, is there any place if somebody wants to reach out to you?
So I'm doing so many things. I'm
Mhm.
doing so many things when it comes to ministry.
Mhm.
I do a lot of even the work with Sade, so they can just call me in my office or call
Okay.
my church, 973-926-0932, or they can call me at 973-733-3794. I still have sisters that work with the Sisters Inspiring Sisters, where we used to go around and do the convocations to encourage, to empower, to make the young, to give the young ladies. Um, I can't say we can give them hope, but what do they hope for themselves? So encouragement, no matter what walk of life women are. In my situation, Councilwoman, I deal with all levels of ministry. Homelessness is a ministry to me. Hunger
Right.
is a ministry to me. Uh, those are all ministries that we all are involved in. It just so happens to be that my brother, Pastor Ali, is dealing with the element of those who need to turn them out. That's why they call it safe surrender. Once
Mhm.
you turn yourself in through one of us and have that conversation, we want you to feel secure enough, but you got to be ready also to receive what it is. We got to pay. You know what they say? We can pick our sin, we can't pick our consequences. So in some cases, we don't really know how we're going to pay,
Mm.
Mhm.
how we're going to have to deal with it. But through ministry, we can have conversations for what God has instilled in us. Minister Abdul, Pastor Ali, myself, and so many other brothers and sisters in the walk of life that want to help improve the quality, not just of life, but improving the quality of life. Help individuals improve the quality of their mindset. To have a better mindset, that once they do the safe surrender, once we do find out how to place a person that's homeless. Listen, mental health is a serious situation.
Mhm.
That's another form of ministry.
Mm.
People are
Mhm.
broken. People, domestic violence. We deal with women. We have all types of areas that I can direct individuals to if they reach out. I can pray for you all day, every day. Matter of fact, City of Newark has a prayer line that I started on March 17th, 2020, for COVID, for individuals that were stuck in their house. They were like, I don't know how I was going to make it. Some people found out whether they really love people or just like them or didn't like them at all during
Right.
COVID because they were stuck up in the house. And sometimes folks would come on and tell me they could sleep better because they was on that prayer line, because it was something that helped them get through. So I still run the line every night at 9 o'clock. And it wasn't just a prayer line, because individuals needed a word of encouragement. Like, I don't know how we going to make it, how we going to come out of this, how we going to make it to the next day. So I started bringing people on to speak, pray, and speak. So we end the call with a word of encouragement, or a word to let folks know whatever's going on in your life. We can turn this thing around if it's bad. We can work our way through it if it's something that you don't know if you're going to get through. And every
Mhm.
night at 9 o'clock, we're doing that. So if you can't reach me at the office and you can't reach me at the church, you can sure catch me at 9 o'clock, 7 nights a week on the Newark Interfaith Alliance prayer line. So that's that. And that number is publicized on our social media page every single day. Hold on, my granddaughter is here. Was that it?
Okay.
Okay.
And I will
Okay.
tell you, Reverend Roundtree, as you exit, we
Oh,
were still.
I'm
What?
not leaving. I was just saying my granddaughter's here.
Oh,
Because after the show, I'm taking her to the movies.
oh, beautiful. Last week we were under the blue code because of the weather, and I gave two residents of Newark your number. and told him to call you, but I also gave him the Newark, the line, the heat hotline number. Um, the response on that, citizens, it seems like they didn't know what to do, but how is that response going when citizens are out with heat? And particularly last week, because it was like single digit numbers. We lost her.
I know I'm still here. I
Okay.
go to another room because I'm
Mhm.
trying to multitask. My granddaughter's aunt passed on 2 weeks ago Wednesday, and
Mm,
so the memorial service and everything was held on today, and so anyway, back to your question. So there are shelters. When there's a cold blue, there are numbers that you can call, but there's also a system that we have for heat. So I might have to pull up that number to give it to you for residents to call when there's no heat. We do
mhm,
hold landlords, if that's what you're speaking to,
mhm.
highly accountable for our residents to be without heat. We do not play with that thing. We don't play with that, nor do we play with residents being on the street during cold blue or any time. We have a director of homelessness named Louis Ulario, and
Mhm.
he's doing a magnificent job with combating homelessness. When you start talking about no heat and thinking about people on the street when there's a cold blue, never mind what's there not being no heat in the house. Those people that are sleeping on the street have to deal with the natural elements of what's going on. So we're dealing with both on a major level. So
Yeah, I see it. Norton is residing in apartments without heat or running water. They should call 973-733-6471 24/7.
that's right.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. And watch
Um,
this. Some of us have our emails. They
mhm.
call 733-4311. If it's
Mhm.
an emergency, and they will dispatch that problem to whatever department that they have to dispatch that information to. I get emails from 4311 from people that just say, I don't have access to call the council persons. Can you please forward this information to them? And the dispatcher will send us emails.
Okay.
Yep.
So Nork is not playing with that. Okay.
No,
Well,
we're not
thank you.
playing.
Mhm.
Not playing.
Mhm.
Not playing. I'm walking around in different rooms trying to help
You know
get
what?
some meetings.
What y'all going to see tonight, Reverend Roundtree?
I'm taking the baby to see. She wants to see Mean Girls.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard that one. Mean
But I
Girls.
don't want to see nothing to say mean anything. I'm not saying we're going to see it, but that's what she wants to see.
Okay, well, is this her night out? Are you going to
Well, this
see?
is her night out because she's going back to North Carolina tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Then she want to see Mean Girls. Then
That's right. And maybe you'll have something to talk about next month, because I know as a teenager sometimes we didn't have good filters, and some of the things we said to people were not the nicest, and we never know what somebody's going through, and we can say some things, and like you said, mental health. We seen, and I don't know if you talked about earlier about the sheriff officer in Passaic County who was at a lunch with friends and went in the
and commit
bathroom and killed
suicide.
himself. I'm like, I can't, I'm just trying to picture you're sitting at a table
What happened?
and you say, "Excuse me, I'll be back," and go into the restroom and he goes and kills himself.
Oh
It's
yeah, I
like,
heard about that. Yeah,
Yeah, a couple of
yeah.
pastors know him very well. They were very upset
yeah.
Mhm.
over that. They said he was good. They told me he was good. He was good for the community. He was fair. They don't know what he was trouble with, but they shot himself at the table.
Yeah, and so that's
So
and I think when brother
wait
Ed,
a second.
go
Wait,
ahead.
he did this in public. It was
In
not.
public. He
He
did
was
public at
at a
lunch.
restaurant in
He's
Clifton,
got
New
a
Jersey.
restaurant.
In Clifton, he was out with some of his friends and excused himself and went to the restroom and killed himself. But I think earlier or latter part of last year we had Brother Mike Barbie on, and he said for us to be very intentional when you ask somebody how are they doing and they respond, to listen to them, because sometimes when we're not listening and they're saying, so it's don't ask if you don't want to listen, basically
That's
what he
right.
said. Yes, Sister Ali. Yes, it is. Mental health is, and he had a wife, children, and he went in that bathroom and took the gun, and that was it.
And so the people he was out with, was it? Do you all know whether it was other law
You
enforcement
want to put this stuff in Auntie Karen's room?
No, I don't know who he's out with. Whoever they were traumatized.
Yeah,
The,
yeah,
the place was traumatized
Right.
because he was a very well loved figure in the county. And like, the pastors that talked to me about it, that were upset over it. They just don't take too kind to everybody. Not like that. They
right.
was upset over it like he was a brother with
Mm.
them, and he was fair with them. They were upset.
And
Yeah.
he was a sheriff in Clifton.
Yeah,
Passaic County,
the
Passaic
state
County.
county,
Say
state county,
County.
Patterson,
Right.
that area.
Yeah.
Wow.
And wise man, probably in his 60s, and just don't know.
So we
And,
want to definitely send condolences out to his family.
family, right?
Yeah, we really do. We've been hit really hard with a lot of people. Beginning. I don't know if we've been on since the imam. Did we come on? What time is going
Yeah.
by?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I
last
think we.
talk, we did a whole. Did
Well, we
just
did a
last
whole
week?
show,
The whole
but we
show,
no
yeah.
the next week, but it wasn't out. It wasn't on the disciples piece. But yeah, we Brother Ed had everybody come on and do a tribute. But I'm just
Hmm.
going back to that because there's so many. We have a police officer who we want to send condolences to, who his wife and child transitioned during complications of
Hmm.
childbirth. We have another police officer today to succumb to sickness, and we had his funeral today. Kenny
Hmm.
Brown, Sergeant Brown. Then on Monday we have Sergeant Ramos. These are not people that were in the line of duty. They were health issues. Um, we have another young officer had a mini stroke, and thank God he's 35 years old. He's okay now. But we gotta. I'm not saying that to say just that we're here to give condolences. I'm saying that we got to take better care of ourselves. The community, we depend on the community to take care of each other, the folks in the community, which led up to whatever took place with our brother Eman. That was outside. But some of us are not taking care of our insides at all.
Right.
So some of us are leaving here not by gunfire, not by just my brothers, my brothers, my brothers and sisters. You know, I don't know why God just said while we talking about heat, cold, homelessness, and what a great work everyone's doing to combat violence, and what a phenomenal mayor we have that, as I speak, is currently at Central High School, running a men's meeting, trying to assist our brothers. When folks come to me and start saying things like, there's no information. There's they've been running men's health groups, and then there's a men's meeting. But talking about this men's and brothers and sisters taking care of your health. Go get your, go get your, get it checked. Get it all checked. And if something feels different, you've been living with your body all your life.
Mhm.
All your life, you've had your body.
Mm.
So you
But you,
need to go and check it out. If you get a headache and you've had it more than 2 days, and it's not because you haven't eaten, we can say it's stress, and 2 weeks later we dead of a stroke.
yeah.
So I'm just pressed, and I am, because I just named 3 people that's funerals being held. Now the woman, the father, and the officer whose wife passed, that was a complications during childbirth, the baby and the mother. But these brothers I'm talking about, these 3 I just mentioned,
Hmm.
that is serious. That
But you
you
know, but you know what it is though, Roundtree, because and I had this conversation recently, Ali, with a friend of mine. I'm not gonna call his name. Y'all all know who I'm talking about. But he called me and he told me, he said, man, he said, I know me and you talk about going to the doctor. He said, but you know the problem I got going to the doctor. He said, every time I go to the doctor, this damn guy write me a prescription.
I don't take them. Watch this. And I got you because it's a business. I at one point, I'm gonna tell you something. During a major campaign for cancer, someone did an investigation on, I'm not gonna name the organization. It's a major national organization of where the funding was going. And they could not find out or figure out the basis of where they couldn't explain where this money was going. Major, 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 major organization for a particular illness. And I started thinking, you know what? Is this some type of scam and movement? We can find cures for this. And, COVID came along and they got in the laboratory and the scientists start coming up with all types of stuff. Yet there's stuff out here that's been around before all of us were born, and they still in the laboratory. They still trying to scientifically figure out how to combat. Well, in some instances, there's so many forms of cancer, that I'm just saying, going to the doctor, they write me a prescription. I think told me I had high cholesterol 9 years ago. The first thing she said was, I'm going to call you in a prescription for Lipitor because your cholesterol is high. So I started reading. I never picked it up. I started reading up on Lipitor. And what I wanted to know was what were the effects. Then I started asking people. I was on the elevator saying, do you know anything about high cholesterol? And I ran into at least 3 people that were on cholesterol medication. You know what they were saying to me? Oh yeah, the side effects is you get cramping in your legs, or the side effects. They telling me all the things that's happening to them as a result of taking it. Brother Ed, I went to look at what naturally I
Mm-hmm.
could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I started taking, they said oatmeal and fish oil.
Yeah.
I was eating oatmeal hot, not no instant. I'm talking about the old Quaker oatmeal every morning and
Yeah.
taking the fish oil tablet. Within 60 days, when I went back, my cholesterol was normal.
Yeah.
And that's what if we just live and eat right, nothing is perfect. There's something in everything. They say don't eat the pig. Well, you know what? Listen, you can say don't eat the pig, but the chicken is the dirtiest animal. I'm just saying, like what?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. But
doctors have a business too. And if we find cures, we'll put them out of business.
yeah. But you
So
but
when they
but you're absolutely right. And I think that the first lady is correct too. When she says that some of this medicine will make you sicker, right, than you already are. And that's why you have to do the research before you do take that medicine.
it'll
Right.
kill you before it cure you.
Yeah. So
Remember Chris Rock's whole 2 to 3 minute. The money is not in the cure. The money's in the medicine. He did a
yeah,
whole
Yeah.
yeah.
thing on
That's why
that.
you can
And
buy Oxycontin. Wait a minute. Talking about cure and medicine. And now let's talk about the biggest drug dealers on this side of the earth. I guess I better be careful because I know that I got a brother named Dr. Sebi that had some things going on. But the truth of the matter is you can buy Oxycontin online now. Don't get me started. All right. Stuff
It
that
was
people
just
were taking for.
I came to not dirty and almost 4 years there. Yeah, Sister Ali, she's right because I've known a
She's
couple of
right.
people who has cancer and being treated for cancer. It seems that the treatment, the chemo and the radiation, was what takes him out, or almost takes him out of here. It's very harsh on your
Yep.
body, and it is okay to tell doctor I will not take that. What else can you give me? Yeah, I had to battle with she's battled with her oncologist about some of the meds they wanted to give her. Yeah, and it's good to have when we talk about medication and going to the doctor, it's always good to have an advocate with you, especially when you're sick, because you have to be able to speak for yourself. And probably in the next couple of months, we're going to have
yeah,
uh, or
Yeah.
have somebody on here that talks about what's going on throughout these states. There
Yeah.
was a sister in Ohio who had um who was pregnant, and she'd had what they said, non-vital pregnancy, and so they should, and it's if she was here in New York or New Jersey, they probably would have told her, the baby's heart is faint, it probably won't last for the next week, we're gonna go ahead and induce and cause you to miscarry, but they wouldn't do anything. She sat in the hospital probably for a total of 20 hours, over 2 days. And she went, and when she was at home, she finally just, your body does some things, especially when it comes to miscarriages and things. And she had a miscarriage at home. And when she went back to the hospital, the nurse called the police and all her, and they arrested her because she had a miscarriage in
Hmm.
Ohio. The case is pretty much in the news right now. But
That's
this
terrible.
thing about Roe versus Wade and how it's playing out in different states, we don't realize in terms of our laws. Um, I don't know to say how blessed we are here in part of the country we're in, but what happens here doesn't happen in
around the
other
country.
places around the
Yeah.
world. Yeah, around the country, in other
Well,
parts of the world.
listen, y'all. This is a conversation that we definitely need to pick up, and I definitely want to invite First Lady Ali on, because I think that we are going to
I've
have
been
this.
saying that forever. She
Yeah.
should have been. She should have been on 2 years ago. She
Yeah.
should have been on when she beat that thing. She beat that thing down. Matter of fact, I'm so proud and honored to know leading lady Ali, because she didn't just beat that down. She
Yeah.
beat sicknesses down she didn't have that her husband had.
All
I'm just
right.
saying.
Well, that's
She
true
beat.
too.
She beat. She. I'm on. All right, line. Yep. She beat down cancer and
Yeah.
then turned around and did 4 rounds, if not more, with her husband
Yeah.
and knocked it out.
All
Yeah. That's
right.
true. That's
Yes,
true. I,
sir.
I I saw that firsthand. But we do need to. I'm saying this, First Lady Ali. If you hear me, we are going to have to, and we want to talk to you about
Yes.
produce a show on that, because we've got more and more people. I just lost my sister a year ago. We lost M2 May. A lot of our people are dying from cancer. And what
Hmm.
we hear is that when you talk to these doctors, they really are saying, well, you don't have to die from cancer. You just are not getting, tested early enough, and you're not getting the treatment you need. So we need to really talk to people like her, talk to people like the First Lady, talk to people like Larry, people who have survived it.
Overcome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and try to figure out how do we really get our people, one, to get tested, yes, but what do they really need to do to really beat this? We know how important prayer is and all of that, but going to the doctor and getting your treatments, all of that is just as important as well. So I
And
think
you,
that we need to
and,
figure out how do we
and,
how do we organize that.
And brother Ed, we have to probably put her and Larry Hamm on together, because today I actually just reposted. And you remember when he was fighting prostate cancer, and I
Yeah,
think it's been 7 years. And when Larry, and he's going to be on later, so he can talk about it himself. But when he was fighting that prostate cancer, Larry went on a straight teaching, and he was explaining
yeah, yeah.
everything and to everybody he came in contact with. He
Scared
wanted you to
the hell out
get
of
the
me.
test, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Scared the
Mhm.
hell out of me.
Mhm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
because Al, the one thing we really afraid of is the finger test, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing we scared of. You know what I mean? And that's really why we don't. Yeah, and Ali, that's why we don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, one
Bend over.
finger.
Bend over.
Yeah.
Bend
So when
over.
them guys start saying y'all need to go to the doctor, Roundtree, that's easier said than done. I'm telling you now.
Well, listen,
Yeah,
go get everything else checked out. And if your PSAs is not, isn't that it? Your PSAs, Pastor Ali?
Yes.
If, if,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
if those numbers, like there's numbers, there's things you can on the drip. But the
And
truth
and
is,
you
like I'm gonna be honest with you. When Edwin Hawkins transitioned, I think it was from pancreatic cancer. So I called my doctor and I said, listen, I want a colonoscopy. This was years ago. She said, no, you have to be a certain age. And I said,
Oh,
well,
I
what's
was
the
getting ready to
certain
say
age?
that. Go ahead.
I think she said 50. I think, I'm not
Yeah.
sure. But whatever she said to me, I wasn't 50 yet. And I said to her, I said, look, people are dying at
And that's a
25. I
yep.
Right.
said, people are dying at 30 and 40. And you mean to tell
Yeah.
me, so this is what she said. She said, if there is a reason, in other words, there has to be a reason for them to write a prescription.
Family
No,
history or
no,
something
no,
like
no. You
that.
can go in and say you having problems with your bowels, your
Mm-hmm.
stomach, you know. And if they say that, okay, Dolly, okay. It's my granddaughter talking to me on the phone. If you can say that, and they can write. Well, my doctor, I told her, I said, well, I think I'm either lactose intolerant or you need to, because I'm starting to feel nauseous, and that was the truth. That wasn't a lie. It might have been my nerves, but she wrote
Or
the
lactose. You might
prescription,
have
and
been
I was able
lactose
to do it.
intolerant.
But we need to be tested
That,
earlier.
Right.
That's
But
really the truth, right?
and
yeah,
And
Congressman Payne and
yep.
Congressman
by the time they found it with my sister, it was too late, right?
right.
And she had gone in. She like you, Roundtree. Some doctor told her 50 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
had they caught it 5 years earlier,
She'd
right,
be here.
she'd still be alive,
That's
right? Which
right.
is what the doctor told Kim and I, right? We went to get a colonoscopy. The doctor told us, you don't die from pancreatic cancer. She said, the problem is you just don't catch it early enough.
That's right.
She said that if she said
Because there's
African
no
American,
symptom.
she said African Americans have to go earlier. And do you know Roundtree and Ali? That is exactly what Congressman Payne told us about his
Yeah. And that's
My
what
mother
he, and
died.
remember
told us about
that's what
his book.
and
He said
Congressman Payne, that's the law
going
he
early,
wrote.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And
That,
that's the mistake we're making,
that's
right?
right.
And that's why we've got to have a show like this, and there's got to be a serious conversation, and especially Ali for the brothers with that finger, because because my own nephew, right, is 50 years old, and that dude refused to go get that test, man.
Mm.
He said he's gonna die from it, and my doctor said he's most surely gonna die then, right?
Mm.
Because the only short way you can do the PSA, but the only sure way to really know that you don't have any problems with that prostate is to be able to go in and do that finger test.
And,
Yeah.
Right?
and to be quite honest, it's the breast cancer. Sister Ali is there. The cancer, the test that we have to do for breast cancer, the mammogram. That's not the most comfortable test either. There it's not a comfortable way, but it is a way that to keep us here longer. And like you said, Congressman Payne
Yeah,
wrote legislation based on, um, like you said, had his father been tested earlier, he would still be here.
yeah,
And and they want to dispute this, but I know this morning on the news they were actually talking about in our community. And if you have a family history of it, 50 is too late. You need to do it in your 40s.
yep. Well, listen, y'all, we have our other guest here.
All
Ali,
right.
you got any final
Who's
words?
the other
Final
guest?
word.
This was a great show. We had a
Myrna
great time. I
Morales.
look forward to the
Hey,
future.
sugar.
Peace and love.
Listen, peace and love. But I got an announcement to make.
Yep,
Our next women's meeting is going to be on February 8th at the Priory. I will send out the flyer once I have everything in place. We're going to do a continuation of preparation for the financial empowerment piece, which, of course, everyone knows First Lady Rocker, myself, Shoshana Page, and um, Council President LaMonica McIver, being led, of course, once again by leading lady Linda Baraka. And we want to help people become debt-free. That don't mean debt-free alone. It means we want to turn delinquency into dividends and better manage our money. Not just being financially literate, because you can be financially literate and still mismanage money. So it's a 12-week free course. The information is free. The books are going to be free. We just need women to register. We're looking to register 1,000 women, and we're well on our way. So they can call my office at 973-733-3794 if they're interested in registering. And then tomorrow at 4 p.m. at Cityplex, there will be a Drop the Mic. Roundtree, Lord help me, is presenting a documentary on the culture of Christian hip hop beginning
Wow.
at 4 p.m. 4
Wow.
p.m. 4 p.m. at Cityplex is the red carpet. The showing is 6:20. Those who come in, they can network. There's going to be some vendors here. But listen, like I told you, my ministry is far beyond the pulpit and far beyond just the pastors, because our work has to go beyond the four walls, because ministry is inclusive of all things. That's why when Jesus picked his 12, he didn't just pick preachers. He picked a cusser, a cutter. Anyway, Pastor Ali knows. The tax collector.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that's what it's all about. So thank you once again for joining us on The Disciples. You have been everywhere with me. You've been to Irvington, Hillside, and now back to my hometown, Newark. It is an
All
honor,
right.
Sister Donna. We in
Yeah.
Cityplex right now. Sister Donna, to your guests, to Pastor Ali, to our Minister Abdul in his
Please.
absence, and to Brother Ed and just Brother Jonathan, our Sergeant of Arms in his absence. God bless you for you to have tuned in, and to our biggest cheerleader, leading lady, Belina Ali. God bless you, and it's once again an honor to be on The Disciples. Peace out.
Peace.
All right, y'all. See y'all later. All right, we want to welcome
See ya.
our guest. See you later, Roundtree. We want to welcome our sister, Myrna Morales. Talking to her tonight. We want to get into talking about the
So
election.
Ed, can you take Reverend Roundtree out?
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's always a party here on news. And so, yeah, I was just what it. I guess for me, it's like really thinking about, because I remember, I mean, often on this show, the ballot question comes up, right? Particularly in these moments um, where it is, or we're getting to a contentious fight, and it seems like we're going to get into a contentious fight. We just had the New Hampshire primaries where Trump won. Biden did pretty poorly. And there's this
Wait,
campaign.
wait, wait, Myrna, you talking
Yes.
about Biden did pretty poorly in New Hampshire?
Yeah.
No, but you gotta put that in context, because he wasn't on the ballot. So
Right.
they did
But
a
it was
right in.
divided. That's
Yeah,
right.
so that right there is something that is tremendous organization,
Right.
that when they came, and when you're not there, and now you've got how many, write-in is something that we need to look at more from when we're organizing everything. So that was
I so appreciate you saying that, Donna, because you know that like 2 or 3 weeks before the New Hampshire primary, like there are a bunch of progressive lefts who are saying like, no, I'm not voting for Biden. I'm not voting for anybody who is complicit with genocide. And they managed in 2 weeks to pull out 1,500 votes, write-in votes for ceasefire. So like there's at the bare minimum there's a spark going on
right.
with the ceasefire, in which, and I think that there are conversations of people that are not planning to, like, either not planning to vote, or they're voting the ceasefire. And there's also the third candidates that we have coming up, like Cornel West and whatnot. So I mean, I think that you're right that we do need to look at the write-in. And I think and that the fact that Biden wasn't present in that space and still managed to pull out 33,000 votes. I think was
Right,
the behind
by write-in.
right, right, right.
33,000
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah, yeah.
wrote in.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. You're not. I mean, you're not gonna get a fight from me
Hmm.
on on that level of organization. Like
And
not even
Maya,
just
and Maya,
showing up.
and
What do
Maya,
you say, Ed?
and
Ed,
Maya, the
I
other
think
thing
you're on
is,
mute, Ed.
no, I'm not on
No,
mute.
he's not.
Maya, the other thing is that we got to understand too. Think about all the people who Trump won, yes, but think about all the people who didn't vote, right? You know, he won, but there were a lot of people up there who did not, Republicans that did not go out and vote. He had the mega folk who went out and voted, and yeah, he won. But as I understood the numbers, there are a lot of people who did not go out to vote.
That's right. That's right. There is a lot of numbers of folks, and so I think that that is also telling, right? That there are people, and it's not just folks. It's not just the Republicans who didn't go out to vote. There's also folks who were really amped in the last couple of elections to vote. Really were fighting, like really were pushing, right? Like what was Bernie's campaign was blue, no matter who. Like Bernie got like a lot of folks who historically didn't believe in voting to
Right.
actually come out and vote and endorse a candidate.
That's absolutely right. That's right.
And so right, and so now we're looking at the conditions, and this is not, and this is not to say, although I do have my opinions about biden's administration, and their capacity to actually meet the needs of the folks. And I think this is important, why it's important to have the conversation with y'all, because I do think that out of Newark, y'all support like some real candidates who do good work. And so in that, and in that regard, when I think about the national politics, and how we know that things on national politics, I mean, it's interesting because, and I want to ask y'all, like, knowing that this show is all politics are local, knowing that that fundamentally where change happens is at a local level, and then thereby catching a particular wave, and then moving it on a national level. Why is the national vote so important to both of you? Why is it important that we come out to vote on a national level? And not enough and it's not enough for us to engage it on the local level.
Well, we believe that we want our local vote to be out 100%, but we know at every level it's important. And for us, particularly in New Jersey and in our area, the 10th congressional district, we have a very fluid working, from the federal all the way down to the local and then back up. We have Congressman Payne, Senator Booker. Um, you have Biden in office, and then you come down to our state level, Governor Murphy, and then you come down to our local, in our largest city in Newark, Mayor Baraka, and then you have our our local council people in our and we say, and I believe as Essex County goes, so does the state of New Jersey goes. And so in our five, like in our Orange, our East Orange, our Irvington, and our Newark, our Hillside, if we were to get those cities to come out and they're normally right at 33%, but if we can get them to come out at 100%, we can. But the beauty of it is the relationship they have. They don't have to do an informal make an appointment. They can, hey, lead pipe, we have some lead in the water in Newark. Mayor Baraka just wrote this legislation up. We need you, look at it, and now it's national legislation. So we have a tremendous relationship, a working relationship where the work is getting done, and not too many people in different cities and states can say that. So we're very fortunate to have that and not have it and not utilize it. And not only do we have a relationship, we're utilizing the relationships.
So for me, listen, I think the national election is important. However, for me, I believe that, local politics is where it is for me, right? Because I think that where my life is going to change is going to be at the school board level. It's going to be at the city council level, right? It's going to be at the mayor's level, the governor's level. That is important to me. Yeah, I'm paying attention to this particular election because, I mean, do I think the country would be better off with Biden versus a Trump? Yes, I think the country would be better off with Biden, because I think Trump is a racist, right? And I don't think he has a clue. Really, I don't think he had a clue when he was the president the first time. I don't think he has a clue this time. You think about what he did to the Supreme Court. You think about what he did to Roe v. Wade, right? You think about, all of the things that this country went through in terms of the level of polarization that it went through. And it's on course to do that again. Not to mention the country was almost overthrown, right? So you look at that and you say, well, we're particularly in our community, Maya, right? We would be better served paying attention to local politics, right? However, we cannot afford to turn our back here. I think the one thing I was talking to John about you, my concern right now is mine, and see if you can help us with that. Why do you think? And of course, I know what John would say if he was here. The question I'm asking is why do you think young people this time around is so apathetic? I mean, I talk to young people and they're like, no, man, I'm not even into it. And I'm like, did you vote last time? Yeah, man, I voted because, my mom put pressure on me. She wanted us to get rid of Trump. And, okay, man, but, yo, man, I'm 23. I only voted one time. I'm not going to vote no more, man. I'm done. Why? And I say, why? And they say exactly what John said. Yo, that dude promised to get rid of my student debt. Yo, man, I'm still in debt. That dude ain't do none of that. I ain't voting for that old ass man. And I'm like, wow. I get it. But I don't know if we can afford to take that approach and think that at the end of the day, somehow Trump is going to be better for us. What say you?
I think thank you, both of you, because I think I'm appreciative of Donna's explanation that in fact, Newark is unique or the Essex County is unique in that it has a clear line of communication, not just a clear line of communication, but a clear line of accountability between the local, state, and the federal level, so that there are changes that need to happen, or at least that there are policies that change when the communities are in crisis, and there's not much of a need to advocate for that change, or rather, not much energy is placed on the advocacy, but rather on the actual change that needs to happen. And to your question, Ed, I think it's not that our young people are apathetic, right? They can find the energy to organize, or to really dive into on TikToks and create mini TikToks and educate us on different issues and whatnot. I think there's the question of there's that question of whether or not is actually efficacious, right? We also have a younger generation that is pushing back on working beyond the 40-hour a week, right? Unless that they're getting paid, they're like, no, I'm not doing it. So I think there is not an apathy, but rather a fed up, right? And I think that there's a way in which that translates in terms of at least for me, right? There's a way in which, because I voted in the blue no matter who, I voted in with the Trump, and I was telling folks too in 2016 up in New England, I was like, we need to vote. I was like, we need to take Trump serious. We absolutely need to take Trump serious, because if we don't, we're going to end up with him in office. And folks were like, no, we're never going to, we're not going to vote for Trump. He's never going to win. And sure enough, he ends up winning. And so then, and we have to respond, right? Like, that's the part where I'm like, if Trump ends up winning, because in the end, my decision is either to vote for third party, i.e. Cornel West, or to not vote at all, or to vote ceasefire, as that campaign is beginning to take steam. Like, I know that I will show up on the front lines and confront the white supremacists that get amped by the fact of Trump winning. Like, I know that I'll be on the front lines pushing and meeting and mitigating the harms, or attempting to mitigate the harms that actually having someone like Trump show up in office. I think, and so to me, and I think what we cannot afford to do, to your question, is what we cannot afford to do is not to take young people's concerns serious. Like, we absolutely, if in fact they're like, student loans is a major issue, like, then that needs to become our issue, right? Like, that needs to become the Democrats' issue. Like, that needs to become the person in front, like, because I mean, I think, like, in the last election, who made the difference were young people, right? Young people made the difference in terms of the election. And so their concerns, they're a constituent that clearly has power, and they're willing to either not exercise it at all, to exercise it however they feel is critical. And so the only
and Myrna, to your point, they made such a difference that the Republican Party came out and said they wanted to raise the voting age. So they made a difference. Now they're talking about raising the voting age. So
and we're not gonna. And let me tell you something, Donna. The Democrats are not gonna win without them young people. They're not gonna win.
no, I definitely think that the Democratic Party is horrible on messaging. We need to get our message out. And Congressman Payne explains it well. The Republicans pretty much have these 5 things: what, Roe versus Wade, taxes. They these 5 things they stick to. The Democrats with much bigger issues, and we take on more issues as you move forward. But I think, to what Ed just said, I think we have to do, so you take civics out. And now, when civics is not a part of the education system, people don't understand that Biden's job is to sign the bill, not to pass the bill. Because when he tried to do it as a president, like I'm trying to think, when a president just does it, what's it called? Like when the president does the order, and as opposed to going through the House and becoming a law. When he tried to do the suit and debt that way, the Supreme Court pushed back on him, and they stopped it, and they stopped taking applications with the student loan because he tried to do it that way. So we have to begin to explain that you have to vote for it to work, and you have to make sure that you're in both houses, that it's passing through. Because in the congressional house, if they're pushing the student debt through and then it sits in the Senate, it's not going anywhere, so it never makes it to the president's desk. And we have to begin to explain how, if it's simple as going back to when we were kids, the song that came on Saturday mornings, this is a bill on Capitol Hill.
Yes.
I mean, but that Saturday morning in your ear, you knew how it works. And now you don't, because they don't do things like that, and they don't begin to understand. But young people, they are involved and they want to know. But I think we need to get back to the basics of telling them. And maybe and I think we did a good job with the young the immigrants who were here and who they were trying to return back. What is that law? If you were here when you were a kid and it was passed under Obama,
Was it DACA? The DACA?
DACA.
Okay.
Now, when they were really, trying to, Republicans push back on DACA, they really came back with strong messaging out, and and it was no, if it the simple story by story was the one. I've been here since 2 years old. I don't know anything. My parents are here. I don't know um any other country. All I know is America, and I've paid taxes here, and tell the story, and the stories were very compelling. So I think we don't need to be, what's the word, reactive. We need to have a plan on messaging and stay on it, and stay on that one thing that they got together on messaging. It was having a black woman as the next Supreme Court justice. They stayed on it. Every other time they brought up we need a Supreme Court justice, you need a black woman Supreme Court justice. The words were, and it happened. And you have it, you when they stick to their messaging and come together, it does work. I think we just need to really do better on messaging, because there's a lot of great things that Biden has done, but nobody knows because they don't tell their story.
But Donna, are you saying that somehow if the young people understood what it really required to get that bill passed, they would, in a sense, not be as disenchanted as they are now?
I do believe that, and I do believe that they would show up if we. I can remember, congressional. I think it was Florio was in office. Was it raising a tax on toilet paper or something, and us taking buses down in Trenton? Whatever you need to do, it might need taking buses from states to show up at those members' house and tell them to get those bills off that desk and get it to the president's office. We have to begin to do things to make these senators work. Because just piling up bills on their desks, and they do that, and they were very successful. They when Barack Obama, they didn't vote for that Supreme Court justice. They get their candidate in, and then they vote for three Supreme Court justices.
Yeah,
They did that in what, lightning speed time, but they couldn't do it when Barack was in office. I'm
right.
sorry.
But Donna, remember, McConnell didn't even allow a vote to happen.
Right. Right.
When Barack Obama had an opportunity to pick his candidate, and McConnell was in charge of the Senate, remember, he said, let's wait until the next president is in, right? He didn't give Obama an opportunity to select who he wanted on the Supreme Court. That's why when Trump became president, he was able to put 3 people up there.
That's right.
Right. And that's why they control the Supreme Court now. My thing is that, when you're talking about young people, right? Young people are not like older folks, right? Young people, you got to show them something. You can't really say to them, you're going to do something, right? Because and they only going to give you really one chance. They're not like us, Donna, right? I'm telling you. Right, my nephew is not that dude. I mean, I'm talking to him, and he's like, "Nah, man. Y'all tricked my ass into voting already. I'm not voting, man. Ain't nothing to vote for," because he did. I mean, the one thing that he bought into was the fact that, look, man, I'm in $30,000 worth of debt. This cat said he wasn't going to get rid of all 30, but he said he was going to get rid of 15. That's half. That's cool. I can live with that. That takes me down. I got a better shot at trying to get out of this thing by the time I'm 30. That didn't even happen, Donna. Right? And you know what John says all the time.
No, that did happen. That did happen. There was.
I mean, it happened for like maybe 20,000 people, right? Like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's true. I know somebody who got like $80,000 in debt. Like, they got that erased. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I still have my stuff.
Yeah,
That's
I
where I
got
put stuff.
and Myrna, you didn't because I got a letter, Myrna, and said I was like, and that's another thing. People, I almost dismissed the letter because it looked like propaganda mail, if you will. And I opened it and it was like, Donna, the balance of your student loan of $9,985.86, the Biden administration has a rate. I was like, woo, because the interest on that was, but it did happen. And
So,
but they
who
did not come
got
back and tell that story to anybody.
but
Nobody knows that it
it didn't
happened.
happen for a lot of us. You know,
But it
there's
happened for some, but
it
nobody
happened for
knew.
some. I agree
Yeah.
that. I agree.
hmm
For some.
I mean,
Yeah.
but it also got caught up in the courts, right? Like after even like you got lucky, Donna, and I
hmm
and not just lucky, right? But like
hmm
there's you pay attention to politics, you're
hmm
astute when it comes to maneuvering through these particular types of shenanigans, and some of the stuff is shenanigans when you think about the level of pettiness that some of these politicians engage
hmm
in and keeping folks out of the process and uninformed. Like you are like in like above average in that sense, right? Like
hmm
I'm
There's
with
still
my
time to do
education. With
that.
my education, like I had somebody who had to tell me, hey, this is happening, make sure you apply, right? Like
hmm
someone tapped my shoulder and then helped me through the process. Didn't work, but like
Right.
it's
And,
still in that. You were saying
and,
something that
and,
that
and that's what we need to do, Myrna. And that's what the Democratic Party needs to put their money. Okay. They
that's right.
80,000 people asked. Um we can get 30,000 through, make that the biggest thing, happening. And then tell the next people that come behind, this is what's going to have to take for the next, even if we have to do it in 3 steps or whatever, you have to talk to people and let people know. Because again, and I have to tell you too, that it was because the phone calls were coming in. Hi, if you have student debt available, you have student debt, you are eligible for the program. This is what you must do. And it was so. I think you if you can remember Charlie Brown's teacher and the wonk 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 wonk. That's how they presented it, and it wasn't presented in a way where people were that excited or they even paid attention to it. And that's a messaging problem.
Ed, were you saying something prior to?
No, I'm just saying that's probably why I missed it because it was long.
I mean,
You
now
know,
that I
no
yes,
idea what because listen, that did do nothing, to relieve the debt I owe NYU Law School. So that
hmm
didn't do nothing to help me. And I know my nephew, right? Clearly a guy 23 years old who said, okay, I'm gonna vote because I got an invested interest.
and not for nothing, like your nephew has seen some stuff happening in our society, right? Like he's gone through the pandemic, he's gone through housing crashes and seeing and subprime loans, economic crises. He's seen political crises. Like this young group of people have not had the level of like the luxury of not being on some engaged in some kind of collective crises.
Yeah.
So when like so and I agree with Donna. Like I think if there's a strategy to engage here, right, is like, can we stop being as Malcolm X would say, mealy mouth? Right? Can we
hmm
actually be clear about our messaging? Can we
hmm
engage
That would help.
with Ed's nephew? Can we
Yeah.
hmm
engage with him in a way like, if we can reach Ed's nephew who's just like done with folks, then I think then we're also grabbing an additional like 50,000 votes, right? Like, because there are going to be a bunch of Ed's nephew walking around saying, I'm not voting. I don't believe in no one. I don't believe in the system. I don't believe in anything right now. What I do believe is that I'm going to have a debt collector coming after me.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And
You know,
absolutely
but
because
just so
they have good messaging, right?
yeah.
there's a good organization actually called the Debt Collective. I'm gonna go get their email address and
Let
pop
me
it in
see.
the comment section. That I think that your son might, not your son, your nephew might be interested. I'm a part of it, and like you pay $5 a month, and it's like a union. But what they do is that they organize. They're the ones that got the Morehouse. I think was it Morehouse debt paid. All the students in Morehouse, their debt got paid. That they found like some. I think they found some rich person or
Yeah.
someone with a lot
Yes,
of money,
yes.
and they
Uh-huh.
paid all of like that was done by the Debt Collective organization.
Okay.
And so like that's that thing, right? It's like we keep, and that's actually who was on or at least worked with the Biden administration. It's like you say, there's those stories that we don't hear. And
Right.
like the Debt Collective is like, and that's the thing I appreciate about the younger generation too, is that they're clear. They're just like, we're not letting fossil fuel come in. If you're passing fossil fuel, then you're like a super villain. And like, if you're not passing or doing legislation that forgives debt, then we're not going to. They're staying focused on that. So anyway, it's to
And they
say,
do, and that's what, and you know what? To President Obama, he was really great on messaging. And what did he do? With the Health Care Act, when he found those stories of those Republicans who wouldn't vote for him, but when they needed that health care and that Republican who wouldn't vote for him got that health care, who changed their life because they were really sick. He got that person to come on and to be a major spokesperson. Hi, my name is John Doe. I'm a Republican. I got sick and I didn't have any health insurance. And because Obamacare is here today, now I can go. That's what he did, you know. And his messaging from the beginning, from getting the person with $5 to donate to getting people to tell their stories, it was brilliant. And I think we we don't utilize, and maybe they don't want to, like I would have thought the head of the Democrat Party should have been like Stacey Abrams. I don't know why. I mean, the work that she did was phenomenal, and was doing work, walking, talking, doing the work, you know, so I think we really need somebody at the head and that has a great idea how to talk to people at all levels and get information to people and meet people right where they are.
I mean, yeah, Stacey Abrams' campaign for governor, I think was it the governor of Georgia, like where
Hmm.
the one where she lit up people in like, right, like there's an excitement that we should have when we're engaging in a
Right.
political process, that we should actually be like, oh, like the possibility of who we are electing, what is new or what is possible in the horizon. And
Right.
instead it's like, right, we're often in that like, yeah, we're gonna elect this person, whatever, like
Mm.
it's gonna be the same old. And so I think like inciting, I remember watching Stacey that campaign and just watching how people, stories upon stories upon stories of people who voted and had a pride in their vote. And I
Right.
think that and fundamentally is what democracy is about, right? It's not something that you can see or hear. It's an experience. It's fundamentally something that you can feel. You either feel empowered and you
Hmm.
can feel it with your voice, or you don't. And I think that if the Democrats really start to pivot and pay attention to what young folks are going to say and do a tight message, I think maybe there might be a chance for Biden. And I think maybe
Yeah.
we probably do need to, because you're not the only one, and you're not the only one. You're certainly one of the few people who've actually been able to articulate the behind the scenes work that Biden has done, or the Biden
Hmm.
administration. And I think that maybe needs to come out more, because change is difficult, right?
Right.
I think that's what I heard at last week's show is that in talking to that sister Chloe from the ICC, right? Like
Hmm.
there's tons of pieces to create systemic change. There are tons of pieces that
Hmm.
come with it. and it's slow, and people's
Who knew? In Union, New Jersey, what was hilarious was when Chloe was talking about, and she was talking about them getting bulls, and so they can get the fat for lotions, and we was like, oh, that's where that bull was running, but it hit us all at one time, and it's so funny, and there was a story in the paper today about the bull again.
The
So
bull is in the hospital.
yeah, the bull is, see, the bull, about it, messaging, right? The bull is in the hospital. He's at the sanctuary. He's not going to be lotion or steak. Now he's at the sanctuary getting treated for something. And we all know about it, right?
Yeah, because he got a great publicist.
Yes. That bull.
Ricardo, is that the name of the bull?
Ricardo, yes, exactly. See? And it's and it's something, but the story has to be told, and it's a lot. It's a lot of work, and even I know I had talked to our and I'm going to revisit the story. Talk to our county clerk. We do a big um day for when we have a big day now for when students select their school, signing day. And I think we should have a big day for when students register to vote. First, because it's around October, and I wanted us to do, I think October 20th or something like that is the last day to register to vote. So in September, I wanted us in New Jersey to do student registration, student voter registration day, and we get and those students to register to vote and get some stories. I'm registering to vote because in 5 years I want to be the councilwoman of Orange. In 10 years I want to be the mayor. To tell their stories all over the country, but we have to really get people excited about the whole process, because that's what our country is built on. And just to last thought to go, just think, I'm born in 67, grew up at the Norman Lear age. Everybody as families, we sat down and watched TV together. So you think of a Archie Bunker, or you think of Good Times, and particularly Good Times. In Good Times, Michael had always had an issue about voting, about the position of why, they had to vote, and this is and not voting, they're gonna be stuck down. What was those projects in Chicago? Could you? I forgot the name of those projects, but they always,
Cabrini.
Cabrini projects.
Mhm.
But Norman Lear, who was 101 years old and still living today, told stories, that were everyday working class people stories back then. You heard it because back then people as families sat down and watched TV. And so we took those issues. I know I went back I was in Catholic school from first to eighth grade. And I told my teacher exactly what Michael said one day. Why is the only thing that you teach us about black people is that we slaves? Where did I get that from? Whatever night Good Times came on and Michael said it. And my history teacher was like, "Oh my gosh, Donna, you can't say that." But it it was something that got me thinking here, and I just went and repeated it. And maybe it got my history teacher, it threw her off her, of how they taught history and everything, but I'm sure it made her go home and think about, while this is a Catholic class and the African American students are a minority, maybe I do have to teach it a little different, and there's more to teach.
I mean, I appreciate I also went to got a Catholic school education. And I appreciate, I appreciate the rigor that they engaged in. And also, like, I asked them, why was the devil bad? And they couldn't give me an explanation. I'm like, we just talk about him like he's bad. Why don't we question these particular assumptions, right? But I think that we think about the ways in which, Catholicism has engaged in empire making, right?
Right.
Like, there's certainly, and so to that extent, the fact that they couldn't make, although, like, I've been doing more work and research, and there's certainly different sects within the Catholic religion that if that has attempted to like engage in that history. I don't
Right.
know. I mean, and so, but it's interesting that, yeah, that is, it's not interesting. It's actually a tale as old as time, right? At least in the time of the US, of why we don't talk about what the atrocities of Black folks, or how we've done to Black folks. And I think that when we think about, and I think that is an addition, like that is also something that we need to start taking really serious, is like the level of safety that Black folks can lean into in this country is a conversation that we need to have. Because I think that is another interest that
reparations.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That absolutely, we need to take that serious as well.
But
Right.
here's the problem with all of it, right? Remember, we don't have civics, right, in school for the average young person today. Not even for teenagers in high school, right? That doesn't exist. There's no real conversation about, local. I mean, thank God here in Newark, we just got, legislation where young 16-year-olds can actually vote now, right? When it,
Beautiful, right?
to school board elections. But we don't have young people being taught anything about politics. That just doesn't exist. Civics is not, the language of the day. However, in other communities though, right, their kids are actually taught about civics early on. The average young Black kid, don't know anything about politics, right? I'm having a conversation, with Professor Carr at Howard University. And the thing he's talking about is, he says, look, man, he says the real problem is that, not that Black folk, that Trump wouldn't be good for the country. The problem is we have low information, and we not really have the conversation we need to have.
Right.
So, but if somebody would have really put together the ledger and say, because in accounting everything is debits and credits, and if you added debits on the side and put Trump versus Biden, and you could really do that, and then say, well, is he good for Black folk, or is he not good for Black folk, right? And be able to do that. But the problem is that young people still want to be shown something, right? So when my friend John Austin says pay them kids, he know that you not paying them kids and not keeping your word when it comes to student debt, right? Them kids don't want to hear all of that. Oh, it had to get to be a bill, or it was some kids got money and walk. They don't want to hear that. What they want to hear is, yo, man, my debt didn't get canceled, right? Donna, 50 years old. Shit, I'm 23. You know what I mean? My debt going now. You know what I mean? I don't want to wait 30 years like Donna. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you, that's the conversation my nephew is actually having. He's actually saying that. He's saying, look, man, saying, yeah, I get Trump ain't really the guy. He said, but I ain't voting for none of them. Right. And so, and as much as I talk to him about local politics, and he's like, yeah, I buy into that local thing, man. He said, but in truth, man, I mean, all of these guys seem like they talking bullshit to me, man. Right. And that's difficult when you talk to a 23-year-old, right, who wants to see something and really bought into voting, right, for Biden because he really thought he was voting his interest. Because that's policy is about your interest, right? So when I said vote your interest, and I said, well, what's of interest to you? Them damn student debts. Okay, great. There's your interest. But when that didn't happen, right? I mean, and Larry, this is true, Larry, in our community, right? The old men have been telling us this for years, right? Money talk and bullshit walk. We've been hearing that, Larry. Listen, I'm 62, right? I've been hearing that all my life. My nephew
Mm.
ain't but 23. He just hearing it, but he like, yo, that's all bullshit to me because I ain't getting nothing done. So all that's got to walk, right? And so that's why, it's got. I'm saying, Maya. All I'm simply saying is that my friend John Austin will tell me. He kept telling me all when Biden first announced it, pay them kids, pay them kids, pay them kids, and now them kids didn't get paid, and some people got their debt relieved, like Donna, like my wife, right? She got her debt relieved, but
Mm.
we got to go through your nephew ain't getting nothing.
I mean, I think that I'm grateful that Donna and your wife were able to get that
The young men at Spelman, there was a couple of colleges where they were able to partner with some wealthy they were able to partner with some wealthy millionaires and to pay their debt off. And that was Morehouse, a couple, and there was a couple of other colleges. I think the problem is nobody knows the messaging. The messaging is everything.
All right, I'm gonna leave you here with the real candidate. And so, like I said, I appreciate y'all and getting schooled by y'all consistently. And so I look forward to next week, hopefully, with Khalid. We'll have Khalid from Grassroots at Boots or Grassroots
All right.
Jerusalem. All right.
All right,
Thank you so much.
And we got to get out and hit these streets and start telling them, the
That's
young
right.
kids, yeah.
Yeah, we got
And
to
I
start
will,
taking, but we
and
also
I'll,
got to start taking young kids' concerns seriously. Like we can't
right,
be acting, we can't get paternalistic on them anymore. Like
right,
they have voice and they have
right,
organization.
and get them to the table and
That's
listen to
right.
them. So we have to do that. So thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Maya.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So the
Peace,
man
Larry.
that needs no introduction, but what
Hey,
people may need to know, he may be our next senator in the great state of New Jersey.
hey, Larry, I got to start with this article, man. Where I read it today, where you were saying that you got some issues with them trying to lock you out, man. Because you ain't got 750,000. I'm like, what's up with that? What I'm thinking, Larry. Listen, I'm thinking we're gonna have to get together with the black media and we're gonna have to hold our own debate and we're gonna invite those folks and we're gonna threaten them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so y'all want the black vote, but y'all telling us we can't listen to Larry, we can't listen to other independent candidates, but because y'all got millions of dollars,
Yeah.
wait a minute, we can't hear what our brother got to say. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, like, I think that's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to organize the media, and then we're gonna have to say we're gonna hold the debate either at Essex County College, right, somewhere
Mm-hmm.
at one of these places, and invite everybody. And if they don't come, we still gonna broadcast it. But damn it, we're not just gonna give you the black vote because you got millions of dollars. And Larry's message may be more important than your message because you got $1 million. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Crazy.
You muted,
Larry,
Larry.
you're on mute. You muted.
I hope you do it, Ed. I hope you and Donna and John and Zaid do it because they're already conspiring to make this just a two-person race. Now, the debate that you read about is being hosted by.
And Larry, by the way, let me just tell you, the man mentioned you yesterday, right? Or was it yesterday, the day before? He mentioned that you were running for, the Senate. I don't
Oh,
know if
did
you
he?
heard. He did. He did.
At the
He gave
at
you
the
a big
at,
plug.
at the King program, right?
No, was it? No, it was at the. I think it was at the PAC the other night. He was at the PAC because he was talking about his father, and then he
Did,
was talking
did
about
he
how
do? What was he doing? The state of the
he
city?
was the youngest person, on the board of education and all of that. And he mentioned your name, and he said, "Oh, by the way, Larry Hamm." He said, "Oh, he said this great guy you all know running for the Senate."
But was
Wow.
this during his state of the city? What was he doing?
No. This is tonight. He's performing, doing some poetry, right? Because they got this Dodge
Mm.
poetry thing going on down at the NJ PAC tonight.
Oh, and that's
So
what
he's
it was.
performing.
Oh.
So he was talking about, the last poets and all of that, and how it politically it all, how he came into consciousness, and
Right.
there was two different sides to poetry, right? He said, there's one level of poetry you learn in school, but then there was one level of poetry he was learning in his house, right?
Right. Right.
That his mother and father was writing, and he said somehow that poetry sounded different, right?
Oh yeah.
Than the poetry he was learning in school. And then, then he talked about the politics of it. And he said, yeah. And he said, y'all may have heard of this guy, Larry. He was the youngest guy at, on the Board of Education. And that was a different kind of politics,
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, remember that poem? What was that? Ba-dee-da.
Oh yeah.
He did that. Yeah. He did half of that and put out through the
You did
rest.
half of that.
Why is we Americans?
Why is
Yeah.
we Americans? Yeah.
That's the name of the poem. That's Mary Baraka.
Yeah.
Or
Senior wrote that poem.
even Mayor Baraka on I Want a Real American poem about a sister being shot down on Chadwick, and yeah, I want a real down on Broader Market. Yeah. Oh man. And
That's
then
what he
that
was
fit.
talking about, Larry. He was saying that kind of poetry was not what he was hearing, right?
No, that's not what we learned. Well, Mayor Baraka is about 20 years younger than I am. But Ed, you and I are a little bit closer in age. So when I was in school, they taught us about poetry, and they taught us about I think it was called ionic pentameter. The different cadences of poetry and rhythms, and all very formal and very dry, but and then I remember the first time I heard Amiri Baraka Senior speak at my high school, man, and it was unlike anything I had ever heard. I never heard poetry like that before.
Yeah.
I never heard poetry like that before. That was, in school we were getting Byron and Longfellow and the other guys.
Yeah.
But even those guys would be better, would be more relevant if they actually taught the social context, the social and historical context in which those poets lived. I remember reading a book by Ludwig. I think it was Beethoven. Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, right? You heard that, right? Beethoven's Fifth.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I think the Fifth was written in the spirit of the revolutionary movements that were going across Europe. At one point in history, Europe had all kings and queens and monarchies.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 1840s, there were a whole series of revolutions where the monarchies were either totally overthrown, or they were replaced with what's called constitutional monarchies, like in England, where you do have a royal family, but you still have a parliament with a bicameral house, a House of Lords and a House of Commons. And this was revolutionary. We take it for granted now. But there was a time in history when kings ruled by what was called divine right. And the king was supposed to be God's representative on earth. And if you were rebelling against the king, you were rebelling against God. The whole concept of revolution, people, we take all this stuff for granted now. But there was a time, if you said anything about the king, you could be killed on the spot. There was no trial. There were no rights, anything like that. But I'm just saying that there's a way to teach something and make it relevant. Like, I learned about the Civil War, right? But I would have never known that the Civil War was related to me. They never taught the Civil War as if it was something totally unrelated to me and my classmates. Who by 1967, when I started South 17th Street School in 1957, started kindergarten there in 1957. The school was integrated. By the time we graduated 8th grade, 1967, the school was all black. And they were teaching us about the Civil War. And I mean, just think about this. Just think about this. It's the 1960s. The civil rights movement is on fire. Martin Luther King is walking around on the face of the earth. And not one time in a history class did anyone ever say anything to me about Martin Luther King when he was alive. Not once. Not one time.
Me too.
Not one time. The civil rights movement, not one time. If I heard anything about civil rights movement, it was on TV. It was not in my social studies class. And that's because a lot of those teachers, they just weren't prepared to teach it. They didn't learn. They didn't learn about it. A lot of them were racist. Like right now, the teachers union in Newark, it used to be back in the 60s and 70s, a very antagonistic relationship. That antagonistic relationship with the union as an entity doesn't exist now. But there was a time when the teaching staff of Newark schools was overwhelmingly white. When I was appointed to the Board of Education at the age of 17 in 1971, there was still an organization in existence called ONE, Organization of Negro Educators. It was headed up by a guy named Fred Means, and they had one sole purpose, and that was to try to get black teachers hired and black teachers to be promoted to become administrators and principals. Because at the time that I was appointed to the board, there was only a handful of, relatively speaking, a handful of black teachers in the North. The only black teacher I had in elementary school was my speech teacher, my speech therapist. Because when I was a kid, I had a speaking impediment. I spoke with a pronounced lisp, and I had to take speech therapy from the 2nd grade through the 6th grade. I didn't stop taking speech till the 6th grade. And my speech therapy teacher, Mrs. King, she was black, but I never had a black teacher. Never. I didn't get a black teacher until I got to Arts High, and he was the chorus teacher. That was the black teacher. And I only got him. I didn't get him as a freshman. I only got him when the white teacher retired. It was a brother named Mr. Howard. The white teacher was Mr. Pickett, and he was replaced. We were struggling. I know I'm getting off the subject, but let me finish up with this. We were struggling with Howard because we got Howard right at the point when many of us as students were becoming politically conscious. So when I took music at Arts High, my training was all classical training. We didn't sing any jazz. We didn't sing any jazz songs or R&B songs. We were learning Handel, and all the other classical musicians of the 17th and 18th centuries, not even the 19th centuries. Occasionally they would teach us a Negro spiritual, but they wasn't singing like we sang in church. I'm like, what kind of Negro spiritual is this? And so I can understand. I'm just trying to relate to what the mayor was saying, about how his father's poetry was different. And it was different because his father represented a revolutionary cultural movement. When we invited Amiri Baraka had an organization called the Committee for a Unified North. And one of their cultural artists group was called the Boot Dancers.
That's right.
And they were African dancers. So we invited the Boot Dancers.
I used to be a boot dancer.
You used to be a boot dancer? Oh, man.
Yep.
And
They called me that we were called Super Simbas.
Super Singers, that's right. So you
Mhm.
remember Sultani Tyreek
Oh
and
yes,
and,
man.
and Cheo, what was his name? Anyway, but you remember Tyreek. Tyreek was was a Simba too.
Yeah.
And when they came to our side, when the Simbas came to our side to dance,
And Larry, we actually wore boots.
that's right,
We
because
actually
it
wore
was
boots.
based on a dance that the South African miners had started, and they wore them big boots when
That's
they
right.
would go down into the mines,
That's right.
boots that had bells on them so people would know where they were at
Mhm.
in the mines. But anyway, we invited the boot dancers to Arts High, and the boot dancers ain't have no shirts on. Man, these brothers come running down the aisle. They didn't even run out on the stage. They came from the back of the auditorium,
Right.
running
Right.
down the aisles of the auditorium onto the stage. Those
Right.
white teachers were fainting, brother. They were fainting. They were fainting in the aisles,
Right.
you know. But I just say all that to speak of the irony of having a totally black school population, or let's say, for argument's sake, mostly black school population, but not having any of the culture, the indigenous culture of that population.
Right.
Like when you walk in Arts High School, even today, in the vestibule, you'll see painted on the walls the 9 muses, the muses of the arts. This is from Greek mythology. They all white.
Yeah.
You don't see any images of black people, and so when we got into our senior year, we started demanding we want to sing some black songs, some real black songs.
Yep.
And this put me in contradiction with the brother who was the chorus teacher, was the new chorus teacher, and he was caught in the trick bag because it's his job. His
Yep.
job is to teach what they tell him to teach.
That's right.
They wasn't telling him
Yep.
to teach no real black gospel music,
Right.
and that guy, no, you teach,
Right.
this is what we want you to teach. This is what we want you to teach. And we bumped a lot of heads. It's really it's really it's really something to think about. But our children need their culture,
They do.
culture that's relevant to them. But
And education. I mean, that's if we had that level of cultural education, we would be further ahead academically,
that's
right?
right. That's right.
And
That's
that's the conversation I've had with Kafele, after the Kings raising kings. He and I talked about that.
right.
But and he, I mean, he shared some reasons why all those young men in the city of Newark are in that condition that they in, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that is partly because of the kind of education that they're getting, right?
That's right.
And the
That's
mayor
absolutely
kind of spoke to that when he said what he said about the poetry, right? He said
right.
that there was one level of poetry that he was getting at home, and then he listed all of the people who would come to his house, right?
Right.
He said that the Max Roaches of the world actually was in his house, was
Right.
actually
And
living with him, right?
that's true. He's
They were
telling the truth.
actually playing on the piano. They were actually dancing. They were actually singing. These are all of the people he would go to school and they would read about, and he would actually say, these people are actually in my house.
Right.
Know these
Imagine that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so and that's why he said that what he said yesterday, Larry, he was saying that's why how I show up is different than how everybody else shows up with their poetry. Because
Right.
it's a different kind of poetry.
That's right. That's
But Larry,
absolutely.
before we run out of time, let's talk politics because I need to know why. What you said was they're trying to lock you out.
Right. They are locking it. They're not trying, they're locking us out. So yeah, I know I got off the subject for a minute,
Yeah.
but that forum is that the debate is being sponsored by New Jersey Globe. So it's New Jersey Globe's debate. New Jersey Globe is a private media outlet the editor of it is David Wildstein, who I believe used to work for the Christie administration and was involved in that Bridgegate, but he didn't end up.
Yeah,
he didn't end up going to jail. But anyway, so they set the terms for their debate, and they said it's not just the $750,000. There are all kind of other requirements.
I know. I read them.
And the end result is that only 2 people of the 7 people who have been identified as candidates for the Democratic U.S. Senate primary, only 2 of them can meet all of those requirements. And that's Andy Kim and the governor's wife, Tammy Murphy. So, you know, Ed, not too long ago, let's say maybe 2 decades ago, up to about 2 decades ago, all of the candidate debates used to be handled by the League of Women Voters. And when the League of Women Voters was doing it, everybody that was on the ballot, you know, it would be in the debate.
Right.
I mean, we don't even know who's on the ballot now. The people who have been identified as candidates are only candidates by the fact that they declared themselves to be candidates. We haven't even gotten the petitions to be on the ballot are not even due until March 25th. So it won't be until April when you actually know who are going to be the candidates on the ballot. But New Jersey Globe wanted to get out there before everybody else for obvious reasons, you know, to have the first candidates debate. And so they, you know, they get the lion's share of the viewing audience and all of that.
Right.
But they locking everybody else out. And to me, this is a form of political repression. They don't want all the candidates in the debate because, number one, they only want one of the 2 candidates that they think are okay. And number 2, they don't want people in the debate who are going to raise ideas outside of the conventional paradigm. For instance, they want people, when they talk about medical bills, they want people who will say, well, you know, we need to preserve Obamacare or we need to expand Obamacare. They don't want anybody in that debate who will say, well, maybe we need universal health care in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we need the same thing that Canada has next door and Mexico has next door. And Israel has in the Middle East. We're sending Israel billions of dollars. We're sending them billions of dollars when our people here are strapped with all kind of medical debt, scared to go to the doctor because they can't afford it.
Right.
But yet we're sending billions to Israel, who has universal health care,
Right.
who has free college. Israel has all the things that European countries have. You know, required leave. What's it called, Donna, when you have a baby?
When you have a
When you have to take leave, when you have to take leave from your job for having a baby.
Maternity leave?
Maternity leave.
Yeah.
That's the law. You know how much maternity leave they have in European countries? It'd be like 18 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like your job is hell. Like nobody can take your job.
And I think it's the husband
you know what
and
else?
the wife. It's the
That's
husband
right.
and the wife. Mm-hmm.
That's right. The husband and the wife.
Wow.
Get maternity leave.
For 18 months?
18 months. Look it up, Ed.
Wow.
Look it up.
Yeah. And
America, listen,
mm-hmm.
America is a socially retrograde capitalist country. Germany is not a socialist country. France is not a socialist country. England is not a socialist country. They all got universal health care. Don't nobody, you get sick in France, not only is your health care free, they pay for your transportation to and from the hospital. I got a friend that lives in Canada now. His name is Norman Richmond. He told me a couple of months ago, we talk all the time. He's in Toronto. His wife had a baby. You know how much he had to spend for his white baby?
No.
$18.
Wow.
18. He said that was the total cost of everything. $18.
Wow.
We are a retro, and the height of irony is we're a retrograde capitalist country and we're the richest. See, that's where the real contradiction is. Not only do we not provide the same social benefits to the working people here that European countries provide to their working people, but we got the money to do it, but we won't do it. When I say we, I'm talking about the government. Let me make that clear. Right. You know, so I'm saying that to say that when they exclude candidates from debates, it's a form of political repression, you know, because they don't want certain ideas out there. Like, let's see if in the New Jersey Globe debate, the issue of reparations comes up. If it's only Andy Kim and Tammy Murphy. And let's see what kind of answers they give if it does come up. Because you and I know, Ed, if you do a debate, it's going to have a whole nother flavor.
That's right. Absolutely.
It's going to have a whole nother flavor, you know. So I issued a statement this morning calling on Tammy Murphy and Andy Kim to join in the call for a Democratic debate. Now, will they do it? I doubt it. Mm-hmm. But miracles do happen, but I doubt it. Right. You know, but because this is anti-democratic. This is exactly why things don't change. Because the people who have the wealth and the power always manipulate the system in a way that works to their advantage. And it's worse today. Do you know what the political analysts are saying? They're saying that this election in 2024 will be the most expensive election in human history. That some $10 billion will be spent on political advertisement alone. No other country does that.
Right.
Even England. England is the mother of capitalism. England is where industrial capitalism got its start, not finance, banking, but industrial capitalism is the mother. There are limits on how much can be spent in a political campaign and how much, you know, a candidate can spend during an election. They don't have people spending billions of dollars, but it's a money game because we had a series of decisions leading up to Citizens United that says money is free speech and billionaires can spend as much as they want in an election.
And even to the point, I even forgot that Cornel West was running because he obviously has not raised enough money to be in any of the debates that they had thus far.
That's right. He's not going to be. He certainly. Excuse me.
Or is he independent? Is he?
He is an independent.
He's running on independent. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Larry.
Yeah, he's not running on any particular party. He's running.
Right, he's running independent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Chairman, did you stopped your cam?
No, I think he was coughing, so he missed it. But I mean, that's the thing, Don. I think that the only.
Go ahead. Are you controlling the controls?
Yes.
Oh, because I wanted to see if you can put the first minute of those two poets up.
The who?
I put two YouTube poetry and I want you to put the first minute up.
Anything? I don't see it in the chat.
You don't see it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay, I'll redo it. Copy. Okay, copy. Paste. You see that one?
I'm back.
You're
Sorry.
back. Okay.
I don't know what happened. Some
Okay.
knocked us off. But you were saying,
Cornell
Donna or
West.
Ed, one of y'all.
Cornell.
Donna was talking about
But
Cornell West.
Cornell West. Well, he's running as an independent.
Yes, he's running as independent.
Okay. So he won't.
He's running as an independent.
He
Um,
would
go ahead.
have to make. He would have to make his own platform to come out if there were any other independent candidates to run. But yeah, since it's been this money, you had to raise a whole a certain amount to be on the stage, and then there's stage 1 and stage 2,
That's
and
right.
and you know what is most shocking to me
What's
from
that?
this Republican from the Republican debates, you have a candidate that's leaving court, running to running to a press conference after a debate. He's not showing up on the debate stage. He's leaving court, and losing the court rulings. Most of the court rulings have been against him, and
Right.
he's going to do a press conference about a primary that he's won. So he didn't show up, and he's and the court cases are showing that he's losing the court cases one after one, but yet he's still winning these primaries. It's
Did you
very
ever think? Did you ever think we'd live to see anything like this?
Yeah, I
at
mean,
all.
I've not, I was talking to some prosecutors this week, man, and no one has ever heard of anyone having 91 charges, and it's like, and he's just going from court to court, from case to case, and it's like that's just absolutely incredible,
Well,
right?
you heard he lost the E. Jean Carroll appeal case, right?
It has to pay her
Oh,
700.
he lost the appeal?
$83 million.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, so the jury came back,
The jury came back in less than 3 hours.
and she was only asking for 10.
They gave her 16 for damages, and they gave her 65 more as punishment for Trump.
Oh my goodness!
It's one of the biggest defamation cases in history. One of the biggest awards in history, because they said,
and you said they denied his appeal.
well, I take it back. This was the second defamation case. It wasn't an appeal. He had been found guilty, right? The first time it was 7 million. I think the award was 7.
All they were talking about was how much the money was going to be.
Right. Then he went out after losing the defamation case. He went out and talked bad about the woman again.
Yeah.
She sued him a second time, and she won, and won a whole lot of money. Now he's going to appeal it, but he's not going to win. He's not going to win.
Wow.
He gonna pay
It
that
says
money.
Trump must pay $83.3 million for defaming E.J. Carroll, and make sure you're on a private chat side, not the comment side.
Yeah.
Okay. $83.3 million.
I mean,
and he leaves the court and he comes right to do a press release.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then you have Tim Scott standing behind him. And it's just
it was like a scene. It was like a scene from Boondocks with Uncle Ruckus, right?
Yes.
So Larry, can I mean, before we run out of time, so the one thing that Zaire talks about, and of course Mother Baraka. So is this really the birth of fascism that we're seeing, or what is it? I mean, how do we ID this?
It's fascism, but it's American fascism. See, each country has its own set of conditions. Like America is a capitalist country, but capitalism in America and capitalism in Germany are not the same. You had fascism. Fascism was born in Italy. It wasn't born in Germany. It was born in Italy. Fascism Fasci is an Italian word. You know, you've seen the fasci when you pick up a penny,
Mm-hmm.
a copper penny, and you see a bundle of sticks tied together, right? Have you seen that on the coin?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the fasci.
Okay.
And what it symbolizes that those sticks, if you took them one by one, you could break them, but if you put them all together, you can't break them. So fascism was born under Benito Mussolini in
Mm-hmm.
Italy, and it had an Italian flavor. His student was Hitler. Hitler
Huh.
was Mussolini's student. Hitler used to keep a little statue of bust of Mussolini on his
Wow.
desk
Wow.
because that was his idol. But
Wow.
then the student surpassed the teacher. So you have German fascism that had its characteristics. So what we have in America now is and fascism is not new to America. Fascism, let me tell you, you want to know what one of the roots of fascism is? The Confederate South. That's one of the roots of fascism. All the fascists were inspired by the institution of American slavery and racial separation. Hitler talked about it in his writings. Mussolini talked about it in his writings. And they looked at America as a model. The whole system of Bantustans in South Africa under apartheid was based on the system of Indian reservations in the United States. So one of the roots of fascism, and it's ironic, right? Because we fought the fascists. We fought Hitler. We fought Mussolini. We fought Tojo. And we defeated them. But there were fascist movements in the United States from the beginning, not later on, in the 1920s and 30s. Do you know that here in Newark, that the FBI would come and arrest Italians in the North Ward for being sympathizers with Mussolini during World War II? In fact, for a very short period, maybe for less than a year, there were actually internment camps that had Italians. We hear about the internment camps of the Japanese. You don't hear about the internment camps of Italians and Germans. But because there were so many, because this was a predominantly white country, there were so many Italian Americans and German Americans that they pushed back against their internment. So they ended the internment camps for them because there was suspicion that somebody used to tell me that you could go in the doctor's office in the North Ward and there'd be pictures, there'd be a painting of Mussolini. You know, they used to march the German Bund, it was called. These are German Americans, white Americans of German descent, the Bund. They used to have marches up and down Fifth Avenue, goose stepping like Hitler's soldiers. They had rallies in Madison Square Garden with a giant picture of George Washington on one side and a giant picture of Adolf Hitler on the other side. The university I went to, Prince University, I think it was 1936. The Prince University Woodrow Wilson School named Hitler Man of the Year. Man of the Year, 1936, Adolf Hitler. There was a lot of sympathy for Hitler in New Jersey. They just had an article, Ed, this week. This week, if you go to NJ.com and look up Nazi youth camps in New Jersey, you'll see the article that was in the Star Ledger about these Nazi youth camps that they had here in New Jersey. In New Jersey. You know, so it's an old tradition, but now it's a tradition that is trying to actually seize power. They no longer like a fringe group. They seizing power now.
Yeah.
You know, and Trump got a whole plan. It's called Project 2025. He got two plans actually.
Yeah.
One is Project 2025, and the other one is called Agenda 47. You want to see what American fascism gonna look like? Get those two documents.
Project 2025, and what's the other one?
Agenda 47.
Agenda 47.
I mean, Trump is telling you, he's telling you, oh, I'll
Chair,
only be
Chair,
dictator for a day. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, Camp Willie and Unmatched, Camp Will and Might was an American Nazi summer camp for approximately 200 German American boys that was operated by the Friends of the New Germany, Delaware, and Raritan Canal in the Grigstown section of Franklin Township, Somerset County, New Jersey in 34. Is that the one you're referring to?
That's the one. That's one of them. There was more than one, you know. Ed, did you ever watch Rachel Maddow's podcast called Ultra?
I think I saw some of it.
You really need to watch that, man.
Okay.
It's stunning. But the only issue is it's historical. It's not about like today, but it gives you a real historical overview of the fascist movement. Let me tell you something. These people were so intense. There was one group called the Silver Shirts, and they actually attacked Picatinny Arsenal here in New Jersey. Like they bombed Picatinny Arsenal. My mother, Grace Hamm, her and her sister Gladys. Their maiden name was Cobb. Grace and Gladys Cobb. They worked at Picatinny Arsenal. The Arsenal's still here, Picatinny Arsenal. But back then they were actually producing armaments at the Arsenal, you know, and these carried out a plot to attack American arsenals and armories, and they attacked Picatinny Arsenal here in New Jersey. You know, it's deep, man.
Wow.
You know what's deep about American racism is that if it's one of the lessons I've learned is that these racist ideas are transferred from generation to generation. Like there's some white youth, they were not born in the 50s. They weren't around here in slavery. They didn't know nothing about Jim Crow, but they as racist as their grandparents were.
That's true. Absolutely.
And how did that happen? Because them ideas get passed down through families, not just through schools. And racism, I'm gonna tell you, the fight against racism is probably going to be the longest fight. We'll have some form of socialism in America before we actually get rid of racism. Racism is a fight that's going to have to be carried on for generations because the racist ideas are so virulent, you know, like a disease. They just like COVID. It's in the air. And passes from generation and only the most intense kind of education and cultural orientation will be necessary to fight this racism, because the basis of racism is the material conditions in which we live, man. As long as we have this racial inequality the way we have it, as long as you can ride through a city and you know when you're in the black part of the city without seeing any black people, that's the material basis. You know, that's the material basis. Racial inequality is the material basis of racist ideology and racist thinking, and we got to change that material reality, man. It's something. It's something, man.
Well, as
Larry,
we
we out of time, Donna, so we're gonna have to end that with Larry. Let that be the last.
I just wanted to say, yesterday for National Racial Day of Healing at Seton Hall, they had a program under with the Diversity and Inclusion Division,
Mhm.
and the speaker was Reverend Leslie Copeland.
Mhm.
And we also have a new adjunct professor, former mayor of Patterson, Jeffrey Jones, is
Oh,
a new on the African American department under Stephanie Harris. Jeffrey Jones, and we should invite him on, but he's one of our new adjunct professors over at Seton Hall. So Stephanie's
good.
bringing people. Dr. Harris is bringing people in and expanding uh, teachers in that area, and she's doing it quick.
I got
So
much respect for Dr. Stephanie Harris. I heard the did you hear Ed the Reparations Council latest presentation? I think it was called, what was it called, Donna? Faith and Resistance.
hmm
And there were about 4 or 5 presenters, and one of them was Stephanie Harris. And let me tell you, she put some information down
Mm,
that I didn't have.
mm,
I had to stop what I was doing
mm.
and listen. She was breaking down the laws of early colonial New Jersey when they was first setting this shit. Oh, excuse me, first setting this stuff up.
No, you all right.
When they first set, I mean, she went back to the beginning, brother. I had never had that like really granular information from like when the first black people were brought to New Jersey and what laws were what the actual laws were. I mean, I knew the concept. I knew that it took some time for the law, but I didn't know what the actual laws were and how deeply the church was involved in enslavement, that
Mm,
the actual management of the early indentured servitude and enslavement was really coordinated by the church.
Mm.
You know, like the church was deep in it, you know, and she put that information out there. So I already respected Dr. Harris, but now I have
hmm
vaulting respect. You should have her come on
and you
and
said
say,
she's a
Yeah,
seat.
we're yeah, she's over the African American.
Okay.
Dr. Harris, she took Dr. Kelly Harris. Yes, so I spoke to her, and now that uh Professor Jones in place, we can just bring her on and to let her tell herself what her goals are for the program, and have Professor Jeffrey Jones, former Mayor Jones, as her guest, with her. So we'll
Well,
work on
what,
that. I'll talk to you during the week. Hmm.
okay.
ask her to do that same presentation that she did for the Reparations Council
Okay.
for the faith and resistance. And they had another sister on there who all these
I just
sisters
put
was
the
bad.
whole. Um, if you take that out of the chat, and you can see the whole council on there. Larry, you're on the council too.
Yeah, I'm on the
Yeah.
council. I'm on the one about
hmm
reparations and democracy. But they had, just real quick, they had another sister on there too that
hmm
gave a history of slave rebellions in New Jersey.
Mm,
hmm
That's some other information I didn't have. We know about them other. We know Nat Turner,
Nat
Denmark
Turner, yeah.
Entity, and New
hmm
Orleans and Germantown, all of that Stone Oak Rebellion. We don't know
But we
nothing
didn't.
about the slave rebellions in New Jersey.
We wouldn't
hmm
There
know the
was
one about the one down the street, huh?
that's right.
Mm.
But there was this other sister on there. I don't remember her name, but the whole show is on YouTube. If you
Okay.
go,
All right.
yeah, it's on YouTube. New Jersey Reparations Council, Faith and Resistance. That's the one I'm talking about because they've done several different ones, but this most recent ones was Faith and Resistance. And this sister was putting it down, man. Slave rebellions in Bergen County.
Wow.
hmm
Like Bergen County is the richest county in New Jersey, right? But guess what county had the most slaves?
I see.
Bergen County.
What
Oh,
Bergen County?
Right.
Okay, there was a slave revolt in Somerset, and it was
That's right.
foiled when a slave told an Englishman, and always one slave told the Englishman that the countrymen were ready. All right, so I'll work on that this week to get.
that's what them folk didn't want to do, boy. They didn't want to get rid of us. They didn't want to let us go.
They didn't, brother. You remember that scene in 12 Years a Slave when the brother's friend from up north finally came back down there to get him in 12
Uh-huh.
Years a Slave? Remember the last scene in the movie? And he came with
Mm-hmm.
the sheriff and he got him
Mm-hmm.
and took him away. That master jumped on his horse and was following him and was cussing the whole way.
Right.
That's my end. God damn, that's my the whole way.
Yeah, we have to talk about that. You know, people.
Donna, you
I'm
going
always
into a new
perplexed. No, I'm
listen.
closing. But I will say this: I'm always perplexed when people say they don't want to see another slave movie. Like we don't want to deal with the realities of what happened. So it's all yours, Ed.
All right. Well, listen, y'all, we want to thank everybody who was on the show tonight. We want to thank, of course, the disciples who were up first. We want to thank them for bringing through Shadi. Really enjoyed that young brother. Wish you much success. And we thank Maya for coming through. And of course, we thank Larry for closing us out tonight. We appreciate that. And we're definitely going to have a conversation about us organizing a debate in the city of Newark and invite all the black press and invite all the candidates and see who's going to come. And if they don't come, then we're going to make it known and say that you can't take the black vote, for cheap. So we thank y'all all for
And
coming through.
in closing, Ed, I just want to say we got great information from the disciples about the ministers. If you have to turn yourself in and you need help doing so, and we'll get that together and post it on All Politics or Local, because there are a group of ministers where you can call and they have 24/7 lines that if you have to turn yourself in, there are advocates who can help you.
That's right. Great news. So until next week, as my brother Zaid, who's actually covering another event tonight, as well as John, who's doing something with the debate. So we thank all of us. As he would say, we'll catch y'all in the whirlwind. Until
All right.
next.
Good night.
All right. Senator-elect soon.